Chapter 3374. With such a good image, he was actually doing such a wretched thing as peeping and stalking. He was still a boy, but why did it feel so weird? After all, it was common for girls to crazily chase after stars, but men were introverted. Doing something like chasing after stars like a girl, this was probably not as simple as just chasing after stars. It could only be explained by love. Wuxia loved the person who entrusted him, and it was the beautiful Wuxia that he imagined. Falling in love with the person he imagined, and Wuxia was just the carrier of his imagination, so Wuxia could entrust his beautiful feelings to her. Only then could he be so tireless and do such a thing. Just like how ordinary female fans would call a good-looking star husband, wasn't it because this male star was the carrier of the fan's imagination? Similarly, Wuxia was the carrier of Wuxia's imagination. Ning Shu saw that Wuxia was uneasy and didn't know where to put his hands and feet, so he asked, "Did you have fun?" Wuxia immediately waved his hand, and the camera in his hand fell to the ground. He quickly picked it up and said to Ning Shu, you. He stuttered and couldn't say a complete sentence for a long time. He suddenly saw his idol, and his idol was looking for him. Wuxia wasn't mentally prepared at all. Suddenly seeing him like this, his heart felt like it was going to stop. He took a deep breath, picked up the camera, and slowly explained to Ning Shu, I'm not a paparazzi, I'm your fan. I just secretly took pictures of you, I didn't publish your pictures, and I didn't sell them. You have to believe me, I really like you. I like you very much. Wuxia blushed and said to Ning Shu. Ning Shu was speechless. What was with this expression of seeing his lover? Perhaps even Wuxia himself didn't know what kind of complicated feelings he had for his idol. He liked her like an ordinary fan, but he was much more possessive than an ordinary fan, and this possessiveness made him do such a thing. Ning Shu faintly said, "Can I ask you not to secretly take pictures of me and follow me?" Wuxia's face, which was still red, immediately lost its color. His face was deathly pale, as if he had suffered a huge blow. He looked at Ning Shu in disbelief. What did you say? I'm not stalking you. It's just that I like you too much. I really like you. You have to believe me. I'll accompany you no matter if you're shooting an advertisement or filming a TV series. Ning Shu was speechless. Doing such a crazy thing in the name of love, the only explanation is that I like you. I'm only doing this because I like you. If you don't like me, I won't do it. This means that other people don't know what's good for them. He was so fucking self-righteous. He couldn't even reason with him. Reasoning with him was completely useless. Was chasing idols the only thing left in his life? Didn't a grown man need to support his family? Wuxia was so young. He probably didn't have a family yet, but was it really good to waste his time on such meaningless things? Ning Shu looked at Wuxia expressionlessly and said, I thank you for liking me. But you following me like this makes me very uncomfortable. Please don't do this. Yusin, don't worry. I'll just follow you from afar. I won't get close to you or disturb you easily. Also, with me protecting you, you can do whatever you want. Ning Shu was speechless. In any case, he was convinced by this logic. To be able to say that monitoring and stalking was protection, and even keep saying that it was for your own good. People like this should be taught how to be a person so that they would understand what protection was. How could a person be crippled? First, taking away everything that had been given to him one by one was enough to cripple him. Second, destroying a person's hopes and beliefs. Destroying the firm beliefs in his heart. Once that was destroyed, his worldview would be shattered. When one encountered one of these, they would become hysterical and crazy. Because the client met with a person alone, Wuxia's beliefs were challenged. He thought that the client was pure and untainted, and wouldn't be as dirty as other women in the entertainment industry. But when the woman that he spent so much effort to protect and love turned out to be such a woman, no different from other vulgar women, Guoxiang made an extreme move. He wanted to personally get rid of Yusin, who had humiliated him. He was angry at Yusin, but at the same time, it was also a punishment for himself. Was he blind? How could he be a fan of such a woman? A two-faced bitch. Pretending to be pure and untainted, she was even more hateful than those unrestrained women. Guoxiang was deceived. Ning Shu felt that Yusin didn't completely destroy Guoxiang's worldview. Let her completely destroy Guoxiang's worldview. Ning Shu suddenly laughed. It was like a flower slowly blooming in front of Guoxiang. Guoxiang felt his eardrums were ringing, it was the sound of his heart beating. Why do you like me? Ning Shu asked. I like your purity. Guoxiang stammered. His face and ears turned red. Ning Shu curled his lips, you think I'm pure? Men were so contradictory. They liked to be unrestrained and wander around, but they also wanted their women to be pure and clean. You guys wandered around, each and every one of you wanted to wander around, but you still want your women to be pure and untainted. Why don't you go to heaven? Only humans had thoughts and emotions. There was also love between men and women. Love could make people happy, but at the same time, it could make people neglect a lot of things. According to the rules of the animal world, only strong males had the right to mate with females. Then, no matter how many rubbish genes there would be no way to pass down. After all, the weak didn't have the right to mate at all. Ning Shu said, I'm not pure. Guoxiang suddenly felt insulted. Don't say that about yourself. In my heart, you're the most pure and flawless. Ning Shu, is being pure and flawless a figment of your imagination? Guoxiang looked at Ning Shu and said sincerely, you're pure. Don't have any scandals with random male celebrities. Ning Shu, are you my manager or what? Sometimes, for publicity, in order to increase the exposure of a TV series, the important actors in the TV series would have scandals. For example, they fell in love because of the show. There were many such announcements, but the people involved would come out to clarify. With this, the attention would go up. Usually, it was a scandal for publicity. Everyone saw through this kind of scandal but didn't expose it. It was to let the ordinary people who didn't know the situation eat some melon to achieve the purpose of publicity. Chapter 3375. Actually, they could do whatever they wanted in private. They could be intimate in public and do some ambiguous things. Once they were off stage, they could do whatever they wanted. After all, they were actors. Life was like a show, it all depended on acting skills. Because the client was in the advertising industry, even if she acted in a TV drama, she would only be the fourth or fifth female lead. A fourth or fifth female lead would not be noticed at all. The client's scandals were surprisingly few. Ning Shu gave a final warning, if you follow me again, I will call the police. You are monitoring me and following me. Guoxiang received a blow, I followed you because I like you. How can you treat me like this? Doing this would completely chill the hearts of the fans. Now Guoxiang's heart was a little cold. He looked at Ning Shu bitterly. It was probably because he was so close to his idol and was treated so coldly by his idol that he was a little disillusioned. Ning Shu smiled and said, young man, if you follow me like this and we meet like this, if the paparazzi take a picture of us, do you think they will say that I met a mysterious man in front of my own house? Guoxiang reacted immediately. If the paparazzi really took a picture of him and Yuxian meeting a mysterious man, then he would become Yuxian's man in a scandal. Damn, just thinking about it made him a little excited. Guoxiang looked at Ning Shu eagerly, the innocent knows that they are innocent. I am only your fan. Brilliance stops at the wise. Even if someone took a picture of them, it did not matter. Ning Shu could see that this person's problem was that she did not allow Yu Xian to have anything to do with other men, but it was okay to have scandals with him. At this time, he did not ask for her to be pure. This standard was really flexible. Ning Shu felt that it was very funny. She said that she was a fan, but in fact, she wanted to own her. This guy was probably a lunatic. Ning Shu asked back, "Didn't you ask me not to have scandals with you? But if I have scandals with you, they are still scandals. Since you are so good to me, how can you bear to let me have a black mark? Those who know will know that you are my fan. Those who don't know will think that I have done something impure. Do you have the heart to see me being considered impure by the public? You wanted to make me pure, but now you've made me impure. Isn't that your fault? Pure." Ning Shu thought that this was ancient times, where women were required to stay indoors. The client's job required them to face all kinds of people. An outstanding appearance would definitely attract covetous eyes. It wasn't as if the client hadn't experienced it before. Fortunately, the client was able to make money for the company and was not arranged to have dinner parties for no reason. It was probably because the image of a pure and innocent girl had already been established. For the sake of long-term benefits, the company would not do anything that would destroy their own Great Wall. After all, sometimes, they could even endorse the products of big brands. What they needed was a high-end and classy temperament. She was just a female celebrity who was involved in scandals all day long. What was there to speak of? The benefits of being a spokesperson for a big brand were much greater than being involved in a scandal. Anyone with a clear mind would know what to choose. Such a good future was destroyed just like that. After Ning Shu said this, Guoxiang fell into deep thought and confusion. Ning Shu's gentle look was as if he was comforting a little white rabbit. "You said that you like me and are my fan. Do you have the heart to see me get involved in scandals? Do you have the heart to see me be entangled in scandals? Is this all you like? Didn't you say that you would protect me?" Ning Shu tilted his head and asked him. It was an interrogation from the soul. "Now I'm doubting whether you like me or not." Guoxiang was questioned and immediately shouted in agitation. Sweat seeped out of his face. In the summer, the car was already hot and stuffy. This sweat made his face oily and shiny. "How can you doubt me? I really like you. You can insult my personality, but you can't insult my love for you. You will never know how much I like you. I like everything about you." Guoxiang almost raised his hand and swore. Ning Shu just chuckled and reached out to pat him on the shoulder. "Young man, don't follow me anymore. Otherwise, I will." Ning Shu's expression was very meaningful. Being patted on the shoulder by his idol and having physical contact was such an exciting thing. Guoxiang was so excited that his whole body was trembling. But then, his expression changed. "How can you have physical contact with men? You are pure. Having physical contact with men would taint her." Ning Shu said, "You are my fan. Interacting with you is just like shaking hands. It's not that serious. It's just a greeting and a courtesy." Only then did Guoxiang's expression soften a little. He reminded Ning Shu again, "You're pure, you're pure. Beware of other men. Those men want to defile you and have bad thoughts about you." Ning Shu asked, "What about you? Do you have any improper thoughts about me?" Guoxiang immediately shook his head. "I don't. I definitely don't. You are a goddess in my heart. I only like you, but I don't want to taint you." He also didn't want others to taint her. Goddess? Of course, being treated as a goddess was something to be happy about, but it also depended on the person. Being treated as a goddess by such a person was nothing to be afraid of. Ning Shu obviously knew that Guoxiang wouldn't listen to him. He patted Guoxiang's body and only left a mark. This mark made it convenient for him to know where this person was at any time and place. It was very convenient to know where this person was. Since he liked to stalk people so much, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. He liked you, so everything he did was worthy of forgiveness. Being chased out in the name of love was really interesting. I was such a pitiful child. How many times had she taken the blame? She could use love as an excuse no matter what happened. Ning Shu said to Guoxiang, "So can we leave today?" Guoxiang was very satisfied today. He was in close contact with his idol and had physical contact. He didn't need to take a bath for 10 days. Ning Shu returned to his apartment. First, he used his spiritual power to scan his apartment back and forth to avoid the appearance of cameras. Ning Shu stood on the balcony and saw that there were binoculars across the street. In fact, he didn't see with his naked eyes, but with his spiritual power. Ning Shu's spiritual power was now formed. It was very strong. He just scanned it. No matter the situation in his home, he could even scan other places in the apartment. Ning Shu scanned to the opposite side of the apartment. The window of this house was facing the window. If he used the balcony, he could see the situation in her room. If he didn't draw the curtains, whatever the client did in the living room could be seen with the binoculars. Damn! Chapter 3376. Ning Shu wanted to curse a little. Maybe it was not only the stalker fans who peeped at the client, but also someone around him. Are they really so curious about the private life of a star? Ning Shu felt that moving was necessary. This kind of apartment was no longer suitable for people to live in. She must move to a safer place to live. In a place with stronger security, the client wanted to save money. This place was actually good, and the security measures were good. However, it was not as good as some single-family villa areas. In a single-family place, each family was far away from each other. Even if one wanted to peep, it was not so easy. But the price of such a place was really scary. Although the client could make some money, most of the money earned was taken away by the company, and the rest belonged to the client. Therefore, it was still a bit difficult to buy a villa at once. A villa worth tens of millions had to be bought at once. If one could not afford it, it would be painful. Ning Shu closed the curtains. At night, she used her spiritual force to scan the other party and found that a middle-aged man lived on the opposite side of the balcony. At the moment, he was peeping at her through binoculars. Probably because she closed the curtains, the other party could not peep. He looked very annoyed and scolded. Ning Shu quickly called her agent and asked her to come over tomorrow morning. She had something to tell her. The client's agent, Sisterly, was a shrewd and capable woman. She did not have many artists under her, only 3. All 3 artists were developing well. Generally speaking, the more famous the agent was, the less she would cast a wide net. She would assist an artist alone. This included the artist's style, and even a message on the public platform would be carefully handled and packaged. If an agent had many artists under her, she certainly could not take care of every artist. She could not consider everything. A newly debuted artist was like a thing that was thrown to an agent, and then cooperation began. Sometimes when something happened, the agent did not know about it. She could not take care of it, so she could only deal with it herself. Sisterly asked directly, "If you have something to say, just say it." Ning Shu said, "Sisterly, I was peeped at. It's from the opposite balcony. There are binoculars." Sisterly was shocked and said quickly, "Why didn't you tell me earlier? How did you find out?" "I found it by accident. There are binoculars on the opposite balcony." "Okay, I'll arrange it right away. You stay at home, close the windows and draw the curtains." Sisterly hurriedly said to Ning Shu, "I'll come to find you right away. We'll find another place to stay." Seeing Sisterly so anxious, Ning Shu felt like he was a fragile glass doll. She was a girl who did not even have the strength to lift a chicken. Soon, Sister Li drove over. After knocking on the door and entering, the first thing she said was to ask Ning Shu to move. Like I said, we should move to another place, but I can't bear to part with the money. If we really can't, we can rent a house in the wealthy district. It's safer that way. If he couldn't bear to buy a house with tens of millions, he could at least rent one. Ning Shu nodded and obediently said, I'll listen to Big Sister Li. Ning Shu only mentioned that someone was spying on them. He didn't mention anything about Guoxiang. Ning Shu wanted to deal with Guoxiang alone. The fewer people who knew about it, the better. Even if something happened to Guoxiang, no one would suspect her. The speed of moving was very fast. This condominium was originally a gift from the company to the client. Now that they were no longer living in it, they could sell it. In fact, they could sell it for some money. Ning Shu did not touch this condominium. Sister Li temporarily found a luxurious hotel for Ning Shu to stay in. Next, she was busy looking for a house for Ning Shu. In those quiet wealthy districts with good security measures, many villas were unoccupied. If they were to be rented out, those rich people might not even care about the small rental fee. Leaving the house empty could also prevent the furniture inside from being destroyed. Sister Li pulled some strings and finally managed to rent a house for Ning Shu. Of course, it was also because of the company's efforts. Ning Shu gratefully received the key to express his gratitude to Sister Li. He also wanted to contribute more to the company. When Ning Shu flattered people, he was very sincere. He looked directly at the other party and even gave Sister Li a set of expensive cosmetics. This made Sister Li feel that her hard work was worth it. Sister Li was satisfied with Wuxia. After all, she could make money for the company. She would not seek death and cause trouble for her. Of course, the agent was not the slave of the artist. It was a cooperative relationship. Ning Shu's obedient appearance made Sister Li's heart soften. She was also an artist under her management. If she was not good to her, who would be good to? Ning Shu quietly moved away, leaving Guoxiang with no news for a few days. In the beginning, Guoxiang thought that he and Wuxia had missed each other, but after missing each other for a few days, Guoxiang felt that something was wrong. He immediately asked around and found out that Wuxia moved. Guoxiang suddenly felt that he was cheated. Before, they were chatting, but in the next second, Wuxia moved. This was the feeling of heartlessness. Guoxiang felt uncomfortable. In order to find Ning Shu, he spent a lot of effort and money. When he found out that Wuxia moved to the rich district, he suddenly felt that it was not easy. Needless to say, the security system of the rich district was very strict. It was impossible for strangers to enter. Guoxiang drove a broken van and wanted to enter the rich district. It was basically a fool's dream. For strangers, the security guards were very careful. Anyone who lived here had a net worth of tens of millions. If something happened, the security guards could not afford to pay for it even if they lost their lives. Moreover, the salary here was quite good. Therefore, Guoxiang could only wander around the rich district. He could not enter at all. Guoxiang felt very painful. He had not seen Wuxia for a few days. He also did not take a picture of her. When he took a picture of her voice and smile, when he took a picture of her appearance, his heart was full of pleasure and satisfaction. He would feel uncomfortable if he did not take a picture for a day. He was probably addicted. He was addicted to taking pictures of people. Now, Guoxiang was addicted. He was deeply immersed in it. Once there was no harvest, he could not grasp all the progress of his idol. This made him feel very disappointed and self-remorseful. If he could not grasp his idol's schedule and know what his idol was doing all the time, he was not a qualified fan. Moreover, he felt a sense of being abandoned. His idol moved, but did not tell him. Ning Shu used his spiritual power to see that Guoxiang was like a headless fly. He was very anxious. Looking at him made people feel unhappy. Ning Shu had applied to change his car. It was no longer the previous license plate number. This was not a big deal for the company. Guoxiang squatted at the door and looked at all kinds of luxury cars coming in and out. Chapter 3377. Guoxiang just couldn't find the familiar license plate number. Guoxiang already knew the license plate number by heart. He could even recite it backwards. His tormented look made Ning Shu feel that this kind of life could last a little longer. After all, paper can't wrap fire. But the period of time before he was discovered was enough for Guoxiang to suffer. His spirit and life's focus was only on one person. He kept calling Ning Shu, but Ning Shu directly blocked him. Guoxiang then used other phones, and Ning Shu also blocked him. No matter how many he called, he would block him anyway. Suffer, despair. The focus of life was taken away. A person's focus was on another person, then he was destined to feel happy for this person, but also to feel pain and suffering because of this person. That was the only thing he could rely on. Hee, I won't let you peep. Guoxiang ran to the company to wait, but Ning Shu carefully avoided him. Guoxiang counted the days. He hadn't seen Wuxia for a week, and he hadn't taken any photos of her. The photos on his wall were missing from the past few days. The photo wall became imperfect and flawed. Guoxiang couldn't stand this kind of flaw. He couldn't see his idol, so he thought of an extreme method. Ordinary people couldn't enter the company. After all, the company was full of artists. If ordinary people were allowed in, it would affect the artists. It would affect the company's safety. Celebrities, some people liked them, but some people didn't know what kind of mentality they had. They were especially hateful, and even did terrible things. In order to protect the artists, the company did its best. Guoxiang couldn't enter the company, so he ran to the building opposite the company and climbed to the roof. He probably wanted to threaten Ning Shu with jumping off the building. Ning Shu often used his mental strength to observe him, and Guoxiang had her mark on him. When he noticed that Guoxiang ran to the roof and climbed up, he instantly knew his intention. He wanted to see her by threatening to commit suicide. This person was more paranoid than she thought. He was joking with his own life. Ning Shu immediately left the company and went to the building opposite. Guoxiang stood at the edge of the roof and stuck his head out to explore. Suddenly, he was pulled by someone. Guoxiang was so shocked that all the hair on his body stood up. When he turned around and saw Ning Shu, he immediately shouted in pleasant surprise, Wuxia. Ning Shu's expression was cold as he asked, "What are you doing?" Was he trying to threaten her by asking for death? If that was really the case and this matter blew up, it would have a huge impact on her. XXX's fans jumped off a building just to see their idol, but their idol, in short, once he was involved in this kind of thing, he would not be able to become a spokesperson. A small scandal between a man and a woman was not a big deal, but it was different when a life was involved. At that time, there would be a lot of police officers and firemen coming over. There would even be some media and paparazzi. The social impact was quite bad. Once there was a scandal, all her endorsements would probably be withdrawn. What kind of fan was this? This was not a fan at all. This was definitely an enemy. That was for sure. He was definitely an enemy. What are you trying to do? Ning Shu asked faintly. Guoxiang also knew that he was going a bit overboard and might tarnish his idol's reputation. But he really had no other choice. If he did not see his idol for a day, his whole body would feel uncomfortable, especially uncomfortable. He wanted to use the pressure of the media and the public to make Wuxia come to see him. But he did not expect her to come so quickly. Before anything happened, she came over. Did this mean that his idol and his heart were connected? Even if their hearts were not connected, it meant that his idol was actually paying attention to her, right? Wuxian, I really like you. I just want to take pictures of you until I die. I have been involved in your growth. I know your past very well. Guoxiang said as he took out a thick notebook from his bag. The pages of the notebook were filled with various magazines, various entertainment news, and some news about TV dramas and movies. These were all related to Wuxian. This toothpaste commercial was your first commercial. Although you were only a small supporting role, you were the prettiest. Your smile was the prettiest. This was your first TV drama. Although you acted as a maid, everyone said that maids were prettier than young ladies. Look, this was the news at that time and the comments of the netizens. Guoxiang excitedly showed Ning Shu the things he had collected. He could even dig out these old and rotten things. Even the person who asked him to do it might not remember it so clearly. Touched? Touched my ass. If this person was a helper, he would do whatever he was told to do. For his idol, he would go through a mountain of swords and a sea of fire. That would be good. But this person had strict moral standards for his idol. Idols can't be involved in scandals with random men. Idols can't do indecent things because you're a goddess. You're pure. You can't get involved with all the sins and filth in the world. You must be spotless. A pure and flawless goddess. She had the highest standards for Wuxian. There was no one who had anything to do with Wuxian but still pointed at her and ordered her around. There was no one else who could do that. He thought too highly of himself. Ning Shu did not look at the notebook. Instead, he said, you climbed to the top of the building. Did you want to commit suicide? Guoxiang shook his head. I didn't want to commit suicide. I just wanted to see you. But I couldn't see you. Ning Shu felt as if he had been hit by a cactus. What obligation did he have to see her? Did he have to see her just because she said so? Wasn't this person a bit too arrogant? Ning Shu felt that this person would threaten her with suicide again in the future. After all, this method could achieve his requirements. Just like how children like to use crying to achieve their goals. This time, he let this person taste the sweetness. Then, he would do the same next time. But Ning Shu had to pay attention. Because this was related to her future. With this weakness, the other party was completely unscrupulous. He could even play with his own life. When the time came, if something really went wrong, those defenders on the internet would directly drown her with their saliva. This was really an unpleasant fact. Guoxiang showed his work to Ning Shu like he was presenting a treasure. Ning Shu just looked at it and did not express any opinions. By the time he finished flipping through the thick notebook, he was so excited that his saliva was flying everywhere. His face was distorted with excitement. Then, he showed his most perfect work. It was especially crazy and daunting. Ning Shu's expression was very calm. He had seen many perverted people. This was a piece of cake. Can we go down? The wind is strong up there. It's not good for my skin. Ning Shu said. Chapter 3378. She stood on the roof like an idiot. Guoxiang was very obedient and followed Ning Shu downstairs. Taking the stairs floor by floor, Guoxiang felt as if she was walking towards a better tomorrow with her idol. She was especially excited. She really hoped that this road would not end. After going downstairs, Ning Shu, as a qualified idol, of course, had to teach Guoxiang not to do such a dangerous thing. Guoxiang nodded repeatedly, indicating that she understood. Her obedient look, to be honest, was especially like a little puppy. But this little puppy was not an ordinary little puppy. It was a wild wolf, a vicious wild wolf. Wearing the skin of love, it did evil things. Ning Shu watched Guoxiang drive away. In order to prevent Guoxiang from doing anything extreme, suicide by jumping off a building became a common occurrence. In the future, she would be threatened and put herself in a passive position. It would not be good if she was led by Guxiang. Therefore, he had to speed up. In the end, Ning Shu did not stop Guxiang from following. She could take photos if she wanted to. But when she was free, Ning Shu began to fight back. Recently, Guxiang felt that someone was following her. Sometimes, when she was walking, she would suddenly be patted on the shoulder. Or when she was squatting, someone would suddenly pat her on the shoulder. It was very heavy, but when she turned around, there was no one. It was fine if it was once or twice, but it was the same every time. Guxiang suspected that she had met a ghost. Moreover, there was always a car following her. It was a very common car, and it was very normal. Such cars could be seen everywhere, but Guxiang felt that this car was following her. It was not until the things in her house were turned into a mess that Guxiang finally felt that she was really being followed. And they even entered her house. The most intolerable thing was that the photos she took and the collected information were all destroyed. The ground was full of fragments. These were his painstaking efforts. Fortunately, he took them painstakingly. These things represented his painstaking process. Guxiang couldn't take it anymore. He chose to call the police, saying that his house had been invaded and that someone was following him. The police report was successful, but they didn't find anything. As for the stalking, they asked Guxiang to tell them the license plate number. How could he remember the license plate number? He only felt that the car had been following him. As for the house, it was in a mess, as if it had been invaded. But after checking it, he didn't find anything. This matter was left unsettled just like that. However, Guxiang knew that someone was following him. What shocked Guxiang the most was that he was sleeping soundly in the middle of the night when he was suddenly woken up by someone. What touched him was something cold, like a cold hand. Guxiang woke up with a start, but there was no one beside him. It was pitch black. Guxiang was so scared that he wanted to scream. He covered his head with the quilt. Ning Shu saw that the effect of the priming curse technique was fading, so he immediately went through the wall and left. The priming curse technique used in the previous world was tested in this world. It could actually be used. Using the invisibility effect of the law of water, it could reach this level. Although it was only a trace of the power of the law, it was already beyond Ning Shu's expectations. He was pleasantly surprised. After all, the power of the law couldn't be used in an ordinary plane. And such a priming curse technique could use the power of the law of this world. Recently, Ning Shu had been following Guxiang when he had nothing to do. He patted him on the shoulder, sneaked into his house, and tore up all the photos he took. Taking photos without my permission is an infringement of my portrait rights. He has no right to take photos. Most importantly, it was quite disgusting for a man to stare at photos every day and fantasize. When Ning Shu saw the real house full of photos, Ning Shu was stunned. How much perseverance did it take to do such a thing? If this energy was put on the right path and research other things, he would probably be a rising scientist. However, people would only have perseverance and determination for things that they were interested in. Ning Shu felt that the client's charm was not small. It was just that the people she attracted were all scum. It was not scary to meet scum. What was scary was to be confused by scum. Then, one's life would be destroyed by scum. Sometimes, physiques were magical. Some people always attracted scum. Ning Shu felt that he would not give up until he scared Guxiang to the point of having a nervous breakdown. After all, the client was also suffering like this. She whispered in Guxiang's ear, "You are the cutest boy I have ever seen. I will always follow you and make you mine." Of course, when she spoke, she was also invisible. If she wasn't, Guxiang would have known it was her. After saying this, Ning Shu immediately left. After all, she took advantage of her work to come over and provoke Guxiang. Guoxiang still followed Ning Shu around every day. If Ning Shu had to go on a business trip, he would wait at the airport to pick her up. Guoxiang was frightened by the auditory hallucination. He looked around, but there was not a single person. There was only a puddle of water beside him. Other than that, there was nothing else. What was going on? Guoxiang dug his ears in disbelief. What was wrong with him? Recently, he kept feeling like someone was following him like a shadow. And they were even talking in his ear. The voice was neither male nor female. He couldn't tell if it was a man or a woman. Was it a ghost? Although one had to believe in science, humans were very afraid of such existences. Humans always felt that after a person died, they would obtain an especially strong power. Then, they would become a ghost, and after becoming a ghost, they would gain power. When a person was alive, they had no power. When they died, they would only have a little bit of soul left. How could they become strong? Even an exposed soul was very weak. If it was slightly damaged by something with extreme yang, it could be destroyed. But ordinary people didn't know. Humans were afraid of death, but they were curious about what happened after death. Now, Guoxiang didn't care about Yuexian's matter. Because he was now in trouble. That was, he was having auditory hallucinations. There was always someone talking to him in his ear. Moreover, those words were sentimental, but if one listened carefully, one's hair would stand on end. It was a very scary thing to have an invisible thing talk to you. When the house was turned into a mess again, Guoxiang finally broke down. He called the police. He hugged the police uncle and asked the police to save him because there was a ghost. There was a ghost that destroyed his things. Moreover, it was talking in his ear. It was saying everything. I don't like you looking at other women. I've dealt with these things for you. I hope that you can only see me in your eyes. I don't like you following other women. I don't like you taking pictures for other women. You didn't take a picture for me. Will you take a picture for me? Take a picture. I'm better looking than that woman. Believe me. Chapter 3379. Just like that, a person kept nagging in her ear. The voice was neither male nor female. To be precise, it was a woman's voice, then a man's voice. There was no fixed voice. Guoxiang was too scared. He even went to the temple to find a master to consecrate an amulet. But such an amulet was useless. Guoxiang held the amulet tightly, but the person was still talking in her ear. And this thing was angry and smashed his camera. Guoxiang only saw his camera being thrown to the ground out of nowhere. What a frightening thing to see. Guoxiang was so scared that his face turned pale. Because he couldn't sleep well, he had dark circles under his eyes. His camera was broken and he couldn't secretly take photos of his idol. And this invisible thing was a very jealous and possessive thing. It followed him like a shadow. Sometimes it would speak, sometimes it wouldn't. But no matter what he did, she, knew it was a ghost. Guoxiang called the police for help, but the problem was that they couldn't find anything. After a few times, the police felt that there was something wrong with this person's mental state. His face was pale, his dark circles were heavy, and his gaze was erratic. In any case, he gave people the feeling that he was panicking and unsettled. The police sincerely suggested that Guoxiang go see a doctor. After all, he wasn't in the right state. When Guoxiang saw that the police didn't believe him, he immediately cried. You have to believe me. It's true. There's really a ghost. You have to believe me. Listen, he's talking. Please save me. The police were speechless. What sound? Who was talking? No one was talking at all. Once again, they confirmed that this person was really crazy. He was really crazy. Hallucinations were common symptoms of a crazy person. The police left. Before they left, they called 120 and asked the hospital to take this person to the hospital for a checkup. Calling the police so frequently was a waste of police resources. In the end, they didn't get anything. If this person called the police again, they definitely wouldn't accept it. There were so many accidents in society every day. Who had the time to deal with a crazy person every day? Guoxiang watched as the police left. Then, people from the hospital came over and tied him up. They threw him into the ambulance and said that they would take him for treatment. Ning Shu waved at the car. Go to the hospital for treatment. Don't give up on treatment. Anyway, during this period of time, Guoxiang would not have time to harass him. And he would no longer nag in Guoxiang's ear. When Guoxiang arrived at the hospital, a psychiatrist immediately examined Guoxiang to see if he was mentally ill. For example, he often heard strange noises, but there was no one around. Guoxiang nodded in agreement. It was like this. The doctor ticked a box and it was a match. After a preliminary examination, it was determined that Guoxiang was mentally ill and needed treatment. Hearing the doctor's treatment, Guoxiang broke down and shouted, "I'm not crazy. What I said is true. You have to believe me. Please believe me." Guoxiang could guarantee that he wasn't mentally ill because his family didn't have a history of mental illness. There was really someone talking in his ear and occasionally patting his shoulder. He was sleeping soundly when he was suddenly woken up. He felt cold to the touch, just like a corpse. It was definitely a ghost. But why did these doctors look at him with even more certainty? He really wasn't mentally ill. No. In any case, these doctors prescribed him a big bag of medicine and even asked him to stay in the hospital for a few days. There would be nurses watching him at all times to prevent him from escaping. Then, they informed Guoxiang's family. They told them that Guoxiang was mentally ill and that his family needed to pay close attention. Guoxiang thought he already said that he wasn't mentally ill. He could clearly feel that someone was touching him. That person was real. But the doctor told Guoxiang's family that this was also a type of mental illness. The patient always felt that there was physical contact, but in reality, there wasn't. He felt that he was being touched and even felt pain, but this was all his imagination. He told his family to take care of Guoxiang's emotions and pay attention to smoothing things over. But Guoxiang knew that he really wasn't mentally ill, and that the feeling of touch really existed. These doctors took the liberty to label him as a lunatic. Recently, because he had too many things to do, Guoxiang didn't think of his idol for a while. He didn't appear during this time. Did Yusin miss him? Would she be curious about what happened to him and why he didn't appear during this time? If she told this matter to Yuxian, would Yuxian believe her? Guoxiang went to the roof of the building opposite Ning Shu's company again, wanting to use this method to call Ning Shu over. Guoxiang felt that he was probably really mentally connected with girls. Otherwise, why would she appear so quickly every time he appeared on the roof? Could this be considered their secret base? Anyway, Ning Shu now felt that he was a cactus. He knew that this kind of illness couldn't be spoiled. Once he got used to it, he would use this method to threaten people. But Ning Shu couldn't let this person be so close to the company. Moreover, this person was very famous on the internet. He was a famous brainless fan, and he was her brainless fan. Dying not far from the company, it was inevitable that people would associate it with her. In the end, what happened to make a fan die in front of the artist's company? This public opinion was enough to destroy her. MMP, this person was really annoying. It seemed that she didn't scare him enough. Even now, he still came to find her. Or on the roof, was he planning to jump down later? Ning Shu's expression was gentle as he asked Guoxiang, "Why are you looking for me?" Guoxiang's eyes were a bit erratic. He looked at Ning Shu and asked, "The doctor said that I have a mental illness, do you believe it?" Ning Shu looked at him for a while. Guoxiang was anxiously waiting for Ning Shu's answer. After a while, Ning Shu said, "How can that be? You look like a normal person." The doctor most likely misjudged. Guoxiang's eyes suddenly burst with a very bright light. He said to Ning Shu, "See, I am a normal person. Those quacks misjudged. There really was someone talking in my ear, but no one believed me. You are the person I like. Do you believe me?" Ning Shu reached out and patted his head as if she was petting a dog. She patted his head. Guoxiang felt a pair of warm and soft hands on his head. It was very warm. It was different from the hands he touched in his dreams. "Of course I believe you. After all, you are my fan. If I don't believe you, who will I believe?" Ning Shu smiled. He was as gentle as the Virgin Mary. His body emitted a dazzling aura of the Virgin Mary. He wanted to save all living things. Chapter 3380. Guoxiang was illuminated by Ning Shu's Holy Mother halo. The worry and fear in his heart were all cured by his idol. He felt that it was not wrong for him to be a fan of Wuxia. Ning Shu gently said to Guoxiang, "Go down, I don't like to be upstairs." "Okay, okay." Guoxiang was very obedient. At night, Ning Shu appeared in Guoxiang's house again. He stood beside the bed and looked at the sleeping Guoxiang. He reached out his hand and directly grabbed Guoxiang's neck. Guoxiang was pleasantly surprised from his dream. His face was red as he fiercely struggled. At the same time, Ning Shu gloomily said, "You went to find that bitch again. You're not satisfied with me, why do you have to find her? I accompany you every day, I look at you every day, but you treat me like this. Do you know how much I like you? In your eyes, there is only that bitch." Ning Shu's voice became a man's voice again. "You're not allowed to look for her anymore. I'll be watching you all the time. In this world, only you can hear my voice. We're a match made in heaven. As long as you agree, I will let go. I won't let you die." The voice became a sharp female voice. It was incomparably ear-piercing. Guoxiang's neck was grabbed. He couldn't speak. He fiercely struggled. Under the threat of death, Guoxiang said with difficulty, "I will never go find her again. I won't go, I won't go." Ning Shu released Guoxiang's neck. His voice became a playful female voice, "Really? That's great. In this world, no one cares about you more than I do. In this world, no one likes you as much as I do. I love you and can do anything for you." Cough, cough. Guoxiang fiercely coughed. He choked on his tears. Hearing Ning Shu's words, he wanted to directly roll his eyes and faint. "As long as you don't go looking for that little slut, I'll treat you very well. But if you keep following that little slut, I'll kill you. I'll strangle you to death like just now." Ning Shu's voice became deep and deep. Guoxiang was in tears and snot. "What are you going to do to me? Please let me go. Don't follow me anymore." Guoxiang felt like he was going crazy. An invisible thing was following him. A ghost, a monster that could be male or female, was following him. He couldn't take it anymore and wanted to strangle him to death at any moment. "You can't. I love you the most in this world. If you interact with that little bitch, I'll kill you and then kill that little bitch." Guoxiang was so scared that he almost peed his pants. He never thought that he would encounter such a thing in his ordinary life. At this time, Guoxiang would rather have a mental illness than be entangled by such a thing. Other than Wuxia, no one believed him. The doctor said that he had a mental illness. "Are you thinking about that little bitch again? Do you know that every time you think about that little bitch, your face is full of ripples? What's so good about her?" Ning Shu said bitterly. Guoxiang really wanted to cry this time. Not only was he being followed all the time, but he also didn't know when they would suddenly appear. Who knew when they would have physical contact with him? She even wanted to strangle him. Save me. Will you only let me go if I die? Guoxiang said hatefully. What right do you have to control me? I like Wuxian. Liking a celebrity is my business. What right do you have to stop me from liking someone? Ning Shu, because I also like you. You can like that little bitch and want that little bitch to do this and that, so why can't I? I learned it from you. Naturally, I have to have all kinds of requirements for the things I like. It's best if it's perfect. Right now, I'm asking you not to interact with that little bitch. You're not allowed to look for her. You're not allowed to take photos of her. I'll tear apart every photo you take so that you can't have a complete photo of her. Guoxiang liking Wuxian wasn't something that happened in a day or two. How could he stop being her fan just like that? He used to spend all his time on Wuxian. How could he just give up like that? Moreover, Guoxiang was very unhappy. He wanted to disobey this invisible thing. What right did he have to ask him to do that? Are you disobedient? If you're disobedient, I'll kill you. Kill you. Ning Shu grabbed Guoxiang's neck again. Guoxiang struggled violently. He grabbed his neck with both hands, trying to get rid of the thing around his neck. I know you're thinking about that little bitch. You're not allowed to think about it. Guoxiang's violent struggle attracted the attention of his family. After all, when he struggled, he made a lot of noise and made the bed creak. Guoxiang's family walked in and saw that Guoxiang was grabbing his own neck. His face was purple and his eyes were white. Ning Shu saw that the priming curse technique was about to lose its effect. He immediately withdrew. Moreover, Guoxiang's family came. In order to avoid being discovered, Ning Shu left. This time, he taught him a lesson. Next time, if he ran to the roof to cool off, it wouldn't be so simple a lesson. Guoxiang escaped from death. He lay on the bed and vomited violently. He vomited while crying. Tears and snot, coupled with the sour smell of vomit, confused the whole room. Everyone in the family looked at Guoxiang with complicated expressions. Was he crazy? Strangling his own neck for no reason. Was he really crazy? His family carefully told Guoxiang to go to the hospital for a period of time and actively cooperate with the treatment. After all, Guoxiang was so young. He still had a long way to go in life. Moreover, it was really too dangerous to stay at home. He could even strangle himself while sleeping. If this wasn't a disease, then what was? Although his family talked to him nicely and discussed with him, they angered Guoxiang. I said, I'm not sick. I'm not sick. Someone wants to kill me. It's a ghost. A ghost is strangling my neck. His family looked helpless. They didn't see any ghosts at all. They only saw Guoxiang struggling on the bed and desperately scratching his neck. They only saw him alone. It must be a hallucination. His family saw that it was useless to discuss with him nicely. They directly tied him up and sent him directly to the hospital. No matter how Guoxiang struggled, he couldn't escape. After all, there were so many people holding him. I'm not sick. I'm not crazy. No, no. Guoxiang was really desperate. Why didn't anyone believe him? He was not crazy. He was normal. Guoxiang, who was locked in the hospital, had to take a lot of medicine every day. He felt that even if he wasn't crazy, he would get sick. Moreover, he was not allowed to touch computers and mobile phones. His family felt that Guoxiang was too homebody. He was addicted to the internet all day long and was escaping from reality. Now, he was crazy because of it. Guoxiang was desperate. He couldn't live anymore. He was not allowed to touch the internet. Chapter 3381. The internet was the life of a young man. Without the internet, he wouldn't know about the entertainment news. He wouldn't know about Wuxian's recent activities. He was just a fan of one person. What was so unforgivable about it? How could he get rid of this thing, this invisible thing? Sometimes it spoke, sometimes it didn't speak. He didn't know when it appeared. Maybe it was always by his side, watching him silently. A person was following her and watching her. Everything she did was right under his nose. Nothing was left unsaid. Even when he took a shower, there was someone watching. Men sometimes like to watch special videos. Then there was someone watching from the side, asking if it was awkward. Wuxia didn't know how to get rid of this invisible thing. Suddenly, he thought of a way. Using this method, he successfully saw Wuxia. That was to use his life to threaten this invisible thing. If this thing really liked him and couldn't love him, then it must be afraid that he would really die. Anyway, being loved by someone was fearless. Therefore, Wuxia sneakily climbed to the top floor of the hospital. Standing on the top floor, he said to the air, "I know you're beside me. Will you stop following me if I die?" No one responded. Wuxia said, "Even if you don't speak, I know you're around." Wuxia, who was standing on the roof, was quickly noticed by others. Someone committed suicide on the top floor of the hospital. This was a very big matter for the hospital. They immediately called the police. Soon, the fire engine and the police arrived. They made a lot of protective measures and attracted a lot of onlookers. The police went upstairs and counseled Wuxia. But the police found that Wuxia didn't listen to them at all. Instead, he was talking to the air. When he was agitated, he even waved his hand. If they didn't pay attention, he would fall down the stairs. The hospital said that this patient had a mental problem. He was a crazy person who was completely immersed in his own world. The police's persuasion was useless because the other party didn't listen at all. What to do? I met a crazy person. Unfortunately, Wuxia was standing at the edge of the cliff. If they rashly rushed over like this, they would definitely startle him. Who knows, he might just jump down. They couldn't use common sense to predict the thoughts of a crazy person. What to do now? What to do? She couldn't just give up on him because he was a lunatic, right? The public was watching, so they had to try their best to save him. Wuxia's family was so scared that their legs turned to jelly. They didn't know what to do. They didn't expect Wuxia to be normal. Although he was introverted and liked to indulge in the internet when he had nothing to do. But he never thought that he would actually become crazy. At this time, the family members thought of the female celebrity that Wuxia liked. He was very obsessed with this female celebrity. If this female celebrity came over, perhaps Wuxia's mind would be clearer. Thus, Ning Shu's company received a call from the police. Someone has committed suicide. We need your company's artists to cooperate and help persuade him. Otherwise, the situation will be difficult to resolve. The company was very hesitant. If they really saved her, it would be very helpful to the artist's image and it would have a positive effect on society. But if there is a problem, Wuxia's image will be very bad. In the future, Wuxia will be associated with the name of a self-murderer, which will have a great impact on her career. But if they don't save her, and if people find out, many keyboard warriors on the internet will whip the artist. After all, it is a matter of life and death. How can you be so cold and not save her? In short, this is a thankless task. Sister Li let Ning Shu make his own decision. She let Ning Shu choose whether to go or not. If he chooses not to go, they will immediately make arrangements. But Ning Shu will have to do something that he can't go to the scene. For example, the place where he is going to attend the event is a bit far from the hospital. Of course, Ning Shu has to go. In this kind of situation, how can he not go and take a look? Is Wuxia addicted to climbing buildings, so he climbs the building when he has nothing to do? Usually, He would use this method to threaten her. Now, he is climbing buildings to threaten people. What is going on? Could it be that Guxiang wanted to use this method to threaten the invisible ghost? Interesting. When she was Uxin, Guxiang liked to use this method. She turned into a ghost and followed Guxiang. Guxiang still likes to use this method. Well, if the situation is not good, immediately evacuate. Even the police can't solve this problem. You are not an expert in this field. Sister Li told Ning Shu, don't get close. That lunatic will drag you down. You can't treat a lunatic as a normal person. If he goes crazy and drags people down with him, then it will be a huge loss. Even if he doesn't die, he will be disabled. For a person he doesn't even know, going over is already very humane. Ning Shu of course understood. She felt that Guxiang is really annoying. No matter what he does, it will affect her. Ning Shu went to the rooftop of the hospital and walked straight to Guxiang. Guxiang walked over and asked, Guxiang, why are you on the rooftop again? When Guxiang saw Ning Shu, his expression was very painful. He hugged his head and pulled his hair. I really can't take it anymore. Do you know the pain of being followed and spied on by someone? Ning Shu, of course, I know. Isn't this what you do? Why can't you take it when it's your turn? And looking at Guxiang's appearance, he doesn't feel remorse for his actions at all. He also doesn't feel that his actions have affected his idol. It's probably because she is too tolerant and benevolent, so Guxiang doesn't feel that there is anything wrong with his actions. Ning Shu smiled and said, what's wrong with that? I'm also a celebrity. I'm often followed, photographed, and spied on. I know how you feel very well. I can empathize with you. Guxiang was about to cry. Yes, it's that painful. Guxiang didn't seem to think that Ning Shu was talking about himself. Instead, he looked at Ning Shu with tears in his eyes. Ning Shu reached out his hand. Come over, the wind on the balcony is too strong. Ning Shu was very gentle. The skin of his hand was as smooth as a spring onion, full of attraction. Guxiang put his hand in Ning Shu's hand. Ning Shu held his hand and brought him to a safe place. Everyone's hearts were in their mouths when they saw that Ning Shu had finally persuaded Guxiang. As soon as they reached a safe place, Guxiang was subdued. Guxiang was taken to a ward. In order to prevent such a thing from happening again, the hospital felt that a place like the rooftop should be locked. A patient committed suicide in the hospital. This has a bad impact on the hospital. Chapter 3382. After the matter was over, Ning Shu left. He decided to visit Guxiang again at night. He would visit him as a ghost. After doing such a big thing in the day, it would be unreasonable if he didn't praise him. In the car, Sister Li raised her phone and said to Ning Shu, I took a video of what happened just now. When the time comes, we can post it and attract a wave of fans. Maybe it could attract fans, but it could also be said to be a show. Ning Shu said, Sister Li, you have the final say. No matter what she did, there would be thorns. On the surface, she saved people. In short, it would be a little helpful to her career. Sister Li uploaded the video, but she didn't use the company's account. Instead, she used a professional account. After all, using an official account would inevitably give people a feeling of showing off. Joking with life was very repulsive. Not attracting fans would attract haters. At night, Ning Shu appeared in the hospital, but he was invisible. There were too many surveillance cameras in the hospital, even in the ward. Therefore, Ning Shu didn't have time. Ning Shu went directly to Guxiang's ward. Guxiang caused such a scene in the day, so the hospital was very strict with him to prevent him from going to the top floor again. If he did it again, the hospital would drive him crazy. Most importantly, the hospital had already let Guoxiang's family go through the discharge procedures. If the illness was serious, they could only be sent to a professional mental hospital. Ning Shu didn't hesitate and directly grabbed Guoxiang's neck. "Since you want to die so much, I'll fulfill your wish." Ning Shu's voice was mixed with a man's and a woman's. "You want to use death to get rid of me? Let me tell you, it's better if you die. This way, your soul can accompany me forever. People have souls after they die." Guoxiang struggled violently, but he couldn't say a word. A pair of cold hands grabbed his neck and tightened. The air became thinner and thinner. He could feel his murderous intent. He really wanted to kill him. Guoxiang panicked. He did not want to die. He had only done that during the day to test this ghostly shadow. Guoxiang thought that since Phantom liked him, he would definitely not be willing to harm him. However, Guoxiang no longer thought that way because the other party really wanted to kill him. His lungs felt like they were about to explode. Under the extreme lack of oxygen, his mind went blank. Was he going to die? Ning Shu loosened his grip on Guoxiang's neck. Guoxiang immediately regained his breath and escaped death. For some reason, Guoxiang's heart actually had a trace of gratitude towards this invisible ghost, and actually let him go. At the same time, Guoxiang's last bit of hope disappeared. This person would not be merciful to him. She would not let him go just because she liked him. This ghost shadow didn't like him at all. Guoxiang's heart was filled with resentment. She kept saying that she liked him, but when she made a move, she was not polite at all. This thing was simply a demon, a demon. After Guoxiang was discharged from the hospital, his family watched over him very strictly. If there was nothing to do, they would lock Guoxiang at home and throw him a computer. If the computer and the internet could make him feel safe, that would be good. Guoxiang could no longer go out to secretly take pictures and follow Wuxia. He felt that he had let down his idol. Now, Guoxiang had already given up talking to his family. This was because the things he said were too outrageous. No one believed him at all. They all said that he was sick. Guoxiang was very active on the internet. Every day, when he had nothing to do, he would post on various platforms. The contents of the post were all about Wuxia. Every day, when he went to Wuxia's Weibo, there would be hundreds and thousands of comments. It was very crazy. Ning Shu just glanced at it and ignored it. She also never replied to him. Now, Ning Shu felt very comfortable. There was no one following her all the time. If they had nothing to do, they would squat around her door and do whatever they wanted. Gathering with friends was very relaxing. Even meeting with men was not a big deal. In this world, other than women, there were only men. Did they want her to not have any contact with men? This kind of person was simply sick. Just how empty and boring was real life to be able to focus all of his mental energy on this latest matter. Find something meaningful to do. Let herself be tired and suffer a little. Ning Shu's luck was a little good recently. She actually accepted an endorsement for an international brand. This endorsement was a qualitative breakthrough for her. After all, an international brand needed the country's most famous spokesperson with the best image. To be honest, the client's reputation wasn't very big, but it wasn't easy to get this endorsement. This caused a lot of people in the company to be a little jealous of Ning Shu. There were all kinds of gossip. Ning Shu was very calm. Only mediocre people wouldn't be jealous of her. So many people were jealous of her. This meant that this opportunity was very good. If it was just an ordinary endorsement, they would be jealous. Sister Li said to Ning Shu, "You will be shooting the advertisement soon. Be careful. If something happened, the shooting wouldn't be able to continue. If she didn't keep the appointment and the opportunity of being the spokesperson was revoked, it would definitely be a huge loss." Ning Shu was very careful. However, during the shooting, Ning Shu still had some problems. However, this problem was discovered by Ning Shu in advance. That meant that someone had added something to her water. It was a sleeping pill, and it had melted into the water. If she didn't pay attention to drinking water, she would definitely fall asleep after drinking it. If there was a large amount of sleeping pills, she might even faint and lose her life. The entertainment industry was a magnified Vanity Fair. There were all kinds of tricks. When Ning Shu drank the water, she felt that the water was a little astringent. There was a slight taste. She immediately spat it out and kept the water at the same time. This matter would wait until the advertisement was shot. After the endorsement was confirmed and the advertisement was shot, she would deal with the water problem. There were many people who had the opportunity to come into contact with her things. Her little assistant. Besides having a manager, a celebrity also had an assistant. The manager was in charge of the celebrity's work and the assistant was in charge of the celebrity's daily life. When they were working, they would help the celebrity to handle the trivial matters. Ning Shu looked at the little assistant. This little assistant was a young lady. The person who commissioned this little assistant was quite nice to this little assistant. He would give her a small gift or something. If it was this little assistant who did it, then it would be a little disappointing. Ning Shu didn't say anything. She continued to shoot the advertisement. As it was an international brand, the requirements were very high. For just one advertisement, Ning Shu had to repeat it many times. And it wasn't just one advertisement. The same advertisement had to be shot a few times. When the time came, it would be better to see which one. When Ning Shu got off the set, the little assistant hurriedly passed Ning Shu a bottle of water. Ning Shu waved her hand and said, "I need to drink less water. If I drink water, it will cause edema." The little assistant kept the bottle of water and didn't insist on Ning Shu drinking water. Chapter 3383. A makeup artist came over to touch up Ning Shu's makeup, and Ning Shu observed her assistant the entire time. Other than her manager, only her assistant had the chance to come into contact with her things. The client usually didn't pay much attention to this little assistant. If this little assistant really did something, then it was really like being stabbed in the foot by a nail. It was really painful. During the filming, Ning Shu didn't eat or drink a single mouthful of water. Even if it was makeup, Ning Shu had to check if there was anything in it. What could be mixed with makeup that could cause a rash on the face? Some rashes would turn black and stay in the skin forever, which would really disfigure her. During this time, the assistant was a little impatient and kept asking Ning Shu if he wanted to drink some water. Ning Shu also felt sorry for her and said, "Give me a new bottle of water." "How can you put things in without unscrewing the water?" Xiao Su said, "This is new, I just unscrewed it." "Sister Yusin, seeing how you're sweating, I think the director is really too harsh. It was already very good, but he made you do it again and again. He's deliberately tormenting you." Ning Shu said directly, "It's an international brand, so it's normal to have strict requirements. You're not allowed to say such things in the future, it makes me feel like I'm a big shot. Since they're paying, I naturally have to follow their requirements." Xiao Su's words sounded like he was being nice to her, as if he was speaking up for her, but in reality, his logic didn't hold up. Moreover, it would cause her to fall into a state of injustice. It was normal to have to do things after receiving the money. International brands gave a lot of endorsement fees, so it was normal to have more requirements. Money was hard to earn, and shit was hard to eat. Xiao Su stuck out his tongue. "I'm just saying, I don't mean anything else. Sister Yusin, do you want to eat something else? You haven't eaten anything since the filming started." "No need, let's talk about it after the filming." After eating, her stomach might bulge, and if she was full, it would affect her figure. Xiao Su secretly pursed his lips. He had no choice but to give Ning Shu an unopened bottle of water. Ning Shu put it down after 2 sips. Xiao Su took the water that Ning Shu had drunk and waited for the next time to give Ning Shu the same water. Ning Shu said to himself, "Get me a new bottle." Xiao Su was speechless. Xiao Su's expression could only be described with one word: pretentious. "Ning Shu, I'm just being unreasonable. I'll throw away a bottle after a sip. If you don't like it, hold it in. If you really don't want to serve her, then don't." This young assistant was a little too ambitious. The assistant had no choice but to open a new bottle of water for Ning Shu. Ning Shu only took a sip and didn't drink any more. This time, the shooting cycle was very long. Within half a month, every frame had to be perfect. During this period, Ning Shu was very careful. He was very careful with the makeup, food, and things he used. The client had a history of allergies. If they came into contact with allergies, they would definitely have symptoms. If it wasn't a rash, they would have respiratory problems, which would affect the filming. Especially if they had a rash on their face, it would definitely be a disaster. If the rash didn't go away for 10 days or half a month, it would affect the filming progress, and the endorsement might even be cancelled. 80% of the time, it would turn yellow. Ning Shu's cautiousness made Xiao Su a little impatient. The filming was about to end, but nothing had happened to Yusin. Ning Shu felt that it wasn't good to keep thinking about it, so he directly told Sister Li that he felt that something was wrong with Xiao Su. This endorsement was very important, so he sent Xiao Su away. Sister Li frowned. "Are you sure? Xiao Su is quite honest. He definitely wouldn't dare do anything." Ning Shu shook his head and said, "That's not necessarily true. People die for money, and birds die for food. If the bargaining chip was big enough, it could make people do things that they didn't dare to think about." She didn't have any conflicts with Xiao Su. After all, the advertisement wouldn't affect Xiao Su at all. It might even be beneficial. After all, if the client was happy, they would give Xiao Su some small gifts. Things like makeup and phones. These things were all given by businesses. If the client didn't need them, they would either give them to Sister Li or the assistant. The assistant was actually equivalent to the artist's nanny. They would run errands like pouring tea. Sister Li also knew the seriousness of the matter. She found an excuse to let Xiao Su go to the company. She said that the company had a test, and if he passed the test, he could be an agent. Being an agent was better than being an assistant. Being an assistant meant being a nanny, and being an agent meant taking care of the artist. Generally, artists with a clear head wouldn't treat their agents badly. Xiao Su struggled and said, "I still have to take care of Sister Yusin. She hasn't finished filming yet. She didn't have much time left." Sister Li said, "It's okay. I'll take care of her. You don't have to worry. This is a rare opportunity." But Xiao Su was still very hesitant. "No buts. I just want to be an assistant forever." But she hadn't even finished her task. In the future, she would definitely be made difficult for. Sister Li saw that Xiao Su kept evading and insisted on staying by Ning Shu's side. She felt that something was wrong. It was such a good opportunity to become an agent, but he was actually hesitating. This meant that he had something more important to do. Sister Li's face was a little ugly. She had chosen this assistant for Yusin. She valued this little girl's honesty. She wouldn't spread gossip about celebrities for no reason. Many paparazzi liked to buy gossip from the assistants of celebrities. Some assistants sold information about celebrities to the paparazzi. Some celebrities' personas would collapse at the slightest provocation. They looked different in front of and behind the scenes. Assistants spent most of their time with celebrities, so they knew what celebrities were like the best. The paparazzi didn't just secretly take photos of celebrities. They also got some information about the celebrities' private lives. However, just secretly taking photos was useless. They also needed some insiders to get more private information. Until now, Sister Lee hadn't seen Xiao Su selling information to the paparazzi. She thought that he was an honest person. Regardless of whether Xiao Su was innocent or not, it was a special period for filming. It was safest to send Xiao Su away. Since Yusin had suspicions, he would only distract her if he stayed. An artist who could make money for the company obviously had to be pampered. Xiao Su knew that this matter was hopeless. He could only leave and go back to the company for training. Ning Shu took out a bottle of water and said to Sister Lee, "Sis, take this out for a test. I think there should be something in it." "Okay." Sister Lee put the bottle of water in her bag with a serious expression and said to Ning Shu, "You don't have an assistant to take care of you. You have to be careful. Do you need another assistant?" Ning Shu directly rejected and said that he could do it. Sister Lee sent the bottle to the hospital for a test. Then, she personally came back to take care of Ning Shu. Chapter 3384. Since there was no one to take care of Ning Shu, Sister Lee would take care of her personally and let her film the commercial. The commercial took more than a month to film. She had to edit it again and again. Anyway, it was quite torturous. But the endorsement fee was really great. After the commercial was finished, the matter was settled. Ning Shu was also in the mood to deal with Xiao Su's matter. Ning Shu slapped the hospital's test report in front of Xiao Su and asked, "Why did you do this?" Xiao Su was a little flustered and her face was pale, but she still said stubbornly, "Sister Yusin, I don't know what you're talking about. What test report is this?" Xiao Su had been a little uneasy before. During the commercial, Yusin didn't drink or eat much, so she sent her away. She thought that after a long time, this matter would be over. But now, the test report was placed in front of her. It really came. Ning Shu said, "There's no point in pretending at a time like this. Do you want me to call the police? This is considered poisoning." Xiao Su immediately collapsed. "Sleeping pills aren't poison at all." Ning Shu said, "You didn't even look at the test report, but you knew it was sleeping pills. So you were the one who drugged her. Why did you do this?" Ning Shu looked at Xiao Su. "I don't remember offending you. And you're getting paid by me. Aren't sleeping pills considered poison? But if you take too much, you won't be able to get up and you'll fall asleep. You're killing someone." Xiao Su stubbornly refused to speak. But when she heard that she was going to kill someone, her face turned pale. Ning Shu didn't say anything and took out his phone to call the police. Xiao Su immediately snatched Ning Shu's phone. "Sister Yusin, I've been serving you for so long. Please don't call the police." If she called the police, she would be punished by the law. Xiao Su was scared. Ning Shu asked calmly, "Tell me, why? Who did you listen to?" Whether she filmed the commercial or not didn't affect Xiao Su. It didn't have any direct benefit to her. Therefore, it was obvious that little Su had been instructed by someone else to do this. As for the mastermind, it could be an artist from the company. After all, the competition between artists was very scary. Many people were jealous of an international brand's endorsement. Xiao Su shook his head. "No one instigated me. I did it on my own accord." Ning Shu asked, "Why? Is there some deep hatred? The hatred of killing her father and stealing her husband?" "Not really. It's just that I don't like the way you act all high and mighty. You want me to come and go as you please." Ning Shu was a little puzzled. "Isn't that the job of an assistant? If you're not happy, you can quit." Xiao Su said, "Not only are they at my beck and call, but their pay is also very low." Ning Shu. "Is there something wrong with your brain? If the salary is low, who would know that you think it's low if you don't say it? Since there's something you're dissatisfied with, just say it." What kind of logic was this? It's just a job. If you want to do it, do it. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. If you don't want to do it, just say it. And it wasn't even a matter of life and death. If it was in the organization, he could lose his life at any time. He could only hold it in and wait until he was strong enough to speak. But in this case, it was just a job. If he didn't want to do it, he could just leave and find another place. He wouldn't do such a thing. It was a very far-fetched reason. The things you gave me were all given by the merchants. Then, you gave them to me. Ning Shu. So, am I wrong to give these things to you? They're mine. I can do whatever I want. Xiao Su pursed his lips and said, "Don't you think it's very tasteless to give people things from the merchants? It's like giving a discount coupon. It gives people a very low feeling." Ning Shu gave Xiao Su a thumbs up. "I really admire your way of thinking. The merchants gave me these things, so they're mine. You took my things, and you're complaining that I didn't choose them for you seriously." The client had a lot of endorsements at home. They were all given by the merchants. She only gave them to the people around her because she couldn't use them all. If she knew that the other party had taken her things, she would still think that it was better to just throw them in the trash can. Besides, what right did Xiao Su have to make the client go through so much trouble to pick out a gift for her? She wasn't family. To put it bluntly, it was a matter of supply and demand. The plane must have thought too highly of him. She felt that she was being given charity. Since she felt that she was being given charity, then she didn't want it. She was greedy for this small benefit and felt that others didn't treat her seriously enough. This was probably the legendary princess's young heart. What should she give in the future? Don't give it anymore. People won't remember it and will think that it's not good. She was in trouble. Why was she so self-righteous? She would just let it expire and throw it away. Some brands were a little expensive. It was quite difficult to get a set with Xiao Su's salary. She had good things, but she still complained that this thing was like a discount coupon. Damn it. People were so insatiable. Ning Shu's expression became much colder. "Tell me, who told you to do this? Otherwise, I'll get the police involved." "I don't believe that you can still be so calm when the police interrogate you. You want to kill me just because of such a trivial matter." Xiao Su was still struggling. "No one. I just don't want you to shoot the advertisement. If this shoot is successful, your tail will be raised to the sky. An endorsement by an international brand would bring about a qualitative change for Yusen." Ning Shu was speechless. This person's brain was really very abnormal. "My tail is raised to the sky. What does it have to do with you?" If she developed well, it would be good for Xiao Su. How proud would it be to say that she was XX's assistant? She wanted to hide the truth for the person behind her. Ning Shu felt his head hurt. Guoxiang's matter hadn't been completely resolved, and now his own backyard was on fire. Ning Shu felt that there was nothing more to say. Without hesitation, she went to look for Sister Li. "I gave you a chance, but you kept being ambiguous and refused to make it clear. In that case, let the police intervene. Maybe my temper is too good. You keep thinking that I'm easy to bully." Xiao Su's face was pale. She couldn't help but tremble. She looked panicked and begged Ning Shu for mercy. "Sister Yusen, I was wrong. I was really wrong." Sister Li rushed over and understood the situation. She was so angry that she wanted to hit Xiao Su. "Tell me, who is it?" An endorsement by an international brand was very beneficial to the company. It was a very cool thing for the company's artists to endorse an international brand. Chapter 3385. Even if there was competition with the artistes in the company, it would still be beneficial for the other artistes. If the company's status was high, then the value of the artistes in the company would also increase. Elder Sister Lee guessed that it might be a certain artist's doing. She had a feeling of disappointment. It was fine if she was jealous, but she was brainless enough to do such a thing. She didn't see the big picture. It was a headache, but if the artistes in the company were to get involved in such a thing, it wouldn't be a good thing for the company. Sister Lee had to comfort Ning Shu. Yusin, this matter can't be blown up. It won't be good for you or the company. Ning Shu looked aggrieved. Are we just going to let this go? Of course not, Sister Lee said. She had just contributed to the company, so she couldn't let her down. Moreover, the endorsement this time had increased her net worth. Sister Lee immediately said to Xiao Su, aren't you going to say who it is? Do you really want to go to the police station and stay there for a few years? Is this considered poisoning or murder? I didn't think of murder. Xiao Su was shocked and tears streamed down his face. It's Gu Qing who asked me to do this. She said that she would give me 100,000 yuan and a branded bag. Ning Shu was speechless. 100,000 yuan branded bag was so cheap. This was a crime. TSK, 100,000 yuan could be earned in 2 years with Xiao Su's salary. What branded bag? Bags were irresistible to women. A good bag could be paired with clothes. The addition of a branded bag was also indispensable. Gu Qing was one of the artistes under Sister Lee. She was quite famous, but she was famous for her big breasts. She was known as the most beautiful breasts in the entertainment industry. She was very beautiful when she grew up. But her success and failure were related to her breasts. People's impression of Gu Qing was related to her breasts. Gu Qing was called over. Seeing the flustered Xiao Su, she knew that the matter had been exposed. Gu Qing sat down calmly and asked Sister Lee, why are you looking for me? Sister Lee said, I thought you knew. Gu Qing, you are the most obedient person under me. How could you do such a thing? Gu Qing smiled. It's because I'm obedient. I don't make a fuss or cry. That's why I don't get any resources. You gave all your resources to other artists and left me out. Since I'm already in this state, it's not bad if I can pull someone down. Don't say that it's not beneficial to me. If I can't get anything, others can't get it either. To me, it's a good thing. Gu Qing's rank was much higher than Xiao Su's. Xiao Su was flustered, but Gu Qing was very calm. However, his fingertips were trembling slightly. It was clear that he was not calm at all. Ning Shu didn't say anything. Anyway, Sister Lee and her company were here. If it was someone else who shot the advertisement today, Gu Qing would have taken action. Coincidentally, she was the one who shot the advertisement. Sister Lee was really angry. She poked Gu Qing's forehead with her finger and said, you're really infuriating me. I've been looking for suitable resources for you. You're the first artist I've taken over. I'll never forget you. Gu Qing just smiled and said, an old person is better than a new one. Sister Lee, tell me, how long has it been since I've had any jobs? Every time I ask you, you tell me to wait. You send me away with 1 job a month. It was very difficult to get jobs, but with jobs came money. Sister Lee's actions were to deprive others of their money. Depriving others of their money was like killing their parents. Hence, it was very normal for Gu Qing to create such a situation. She couldn't hold it in any longer. Sister Lee's expression was very ugly. Since you're so dissatisfied with me, you should find another manager. There's an advertisement for a branded lingerie brand that's being discussed. They booked you. Sister Lee was so angry that she was panting heavily. Because Gu Qing had the title of the most beautiful breasts, she was especially suitable for this kind of advertisement. Moreover, the company was also interested in looking for Gu Qing. Why was she so impatient? Gu Qing was stunned. Then why didn't you tell me? If she had told her in advance, she wouldn't have done such a thing in a moment of injustice. Sister Li glanced at Ning Shu. Since you've done such a thing and hurt others in the company's interests, I'll tell the company that you're not suitable for this advertisement. Gu Qing bit her lips tightly. She looked very upset and her eyes were tearing up. She looked at Ning Shu. Ning Shu didn't say anything. Sister Li also looked at Ning Shu. At this moment, if Ning Shu said that he didn't want to pursue the matter, this matter would naturally be over. However, if Ning Shu really wanted to pursue the matter, he definitely wouldn't let it go so easily. If he didn't pursue the matter, this matter would have a happy ending. However, Ning Shu was unhappy. If it was her, she wouldn't have been so wary of her little assistant. She would have drunk and eaten whatever she was given. She would have been lying in the hospital by now. Not only would she lose the endorsement, but her body would also be damaged. If she drank too much, she would probably have collapsed. She was let off so easily just like that. Ning Shu said that he couldn't do it. Ning Shu didn't say anything. His meaning was very clear. Gu Qing hardened her heart and immediately knelt in front of Ning Shu. I'm sorry, Yu Xin. I'm really sorry. Please forgive me. I won't do anything bad to you in the future. If I do it again, you can send me directly to the police station. Ning Shu was expressionless. I can send you to the police station now too. Gu Qing's face was grave. What do I have to do for you to forgive me? Ning Shu said, I don't know either. It's because I have a lot of pent-up anger in my heart right now. I can't vent it out. It feels terrible. Gu Qing hardened her heart and said, then I'll give you the underwear endorsement this time. When Gu Qing said this, her entire body went limp. She really regretted it. Ning Shu shook his head and said, how can I steal your endorsement? You'll hate me even more. Gu Qing shook her head. I won't. She had to step back. Otherwise, her career would be over. After doing such a thing, Gu Qing had a lot of pent-up anger in her heart. Now that the pent-up anger was gone, her rationality came back. First of all, she had to resolve the current situation. Sister Li had no choice but to be the peacemaker. She said to Ning Shu, Yu Xin. In the end, she couldn't say anything. After all, she didn't have the right to ask Ning Shu to forgive others. Ning Shu only said, I hope that we won't interact with each other as much as possible in the future. Anyway, this kind of thing makes me uncomfortable. Yes, I know. Gu Qing nodded repeatedly. Her expression was sincere. I'm sorry. I was too angry. I was impulsive. Thank you. I know that you won't forgive me in your heart. Ning Shu rolled his eyes. Alright, Sister Li. I'm doing this for your sake. Sister Li smiled. Alright, it's been hard on you. Chapter 3386. It was a good thing for Sister Li that this matter was resolved. If it went to the police station, the company would have to answer to the public. Then, it would be busy again. There would be all sorts of press conferences and Gu Qing's career would be ruined. Seeing that the matter was resolved, Gu Qing heaved a sigh of relief. She apologized to Ning Shu again. Actually, she was not targeting Ning Shu. Instead, she was targeting the artist who endorsed the advertisement. If it was not Ning Shu, it would be someone else. However, Sister Li would definitely be unhappy that Gu Qing had done such a thing. Even if she could endorse the underwear, she would be in a semi-shelved state after this. What? She had a problem with that? What problem could she have? The reason why this matter was not blown up was for the company's benefit. If this matter blew up, it would be beneficial for the company. Gu Qing's face was pale. She could roughly guess the situation. Now, she really regretted doing such a thing. She was angry that Sister Lee was biased and gave such a good job to Uxin without considering anyone else. Uxin is good-looking, but there are no ugly artists. Image is the first requirement. Of course, comedians did not have so many requirements as long as they were happy. Gu Qin left. Xiao Su was frightened and left with Gu Qin. Xiao Su chased after Gu Qin and said to her, "I did this for you. You can't leave me behind." Gu Qin had the ability to get the company to protect her, but Xiao Su was just a lowly assistant. Xiao Su's muscles were trembling out of fear. Gu Qin looked at Xiao Su and sneered. "You didn't do it and you still want me to protect you. Sure, let me be your assistant." Xiao Su felt that he would only be safe if he was by Gu Qin's side. After all, they were in the same boat now. Gu Qin shook her head. "I don't want someone who will betray his master for a few bags and money." Xiao Su's face was pale. He had no choice but to say fiercely, "If you really don't care about me, I will expose this matter. I am just a lowly assistant and you are a big star. Is your life more valuable or mine? Don't you have a big commercial? If this matter is exposed, do you think the business will look for a ruthless female celebrity like you to endorse? Aren't you afraid that your underwear won't sell? You." Gu Qin was infuriated by Xiao Su's attitude. She regretted her hot-headedness again. That was why so many people had something on her. Being threatened by a small assistant really made her very unhappy. However, this little assistant really had her life in her hands. She hadn't had a big job in a long time. She had to get this job. She would deal with this little assistant after the event was over. You don't even have a way to deal with a small assistant. What's the point? A joke? Gu Qin nodded. All right, then you'll be my assistant. Thank you, thank you. Xiao Su heaved a sigh of relief. Since Uxin didn't want to argue with Gu Qin, she was Gu Qin's assistant. Gu Qin would try her best to protect her for her own sake. At this moment, the two women were filled with regret. Ning Shu knew that the two of them were together. He just smiled and let the two of them be at each other's throats. Since she had promised Sister Lee that she wouldn't argue with her, then Xiao Su would be removed from the matter. If she wanted to punish Xiao Su, she would have to bring up Gu Qin's matter. However, it was too easy to find fault with someone. Ning Shu told Sister Lee that many of her things were missing. These things were gifts from the business, such as a box of lipsticks and cosmetics from a brand. She said that these things were stolen and no one else took them. Then, only her assistant could have taken them. She took her things without her permission. Sister Lee was speechless. Of course, Sister Lee knew that Ning Shu was unhappy. She had indeed been wronged. She was just a small assistant. Of course, she had to return the things. Sister Lee found Xiao Su and asked her to return the things that she had stolen. Xiao Su didn't even know what she had stolen. She was being wronged for no reason. Xiao Su was about to explode. Sister Lee said calmly, "You didn't take the cosmetics and bags that the business gave you, Uxin? If you took them, then hand them over. Otherwise, you're a thief. You stole Uxin's things." Xiao Su said agitatedly, "I didn't steal them. She gave them to me." Xiao Su felt very wronged. How could she be wronged like this? Sister Lee said, "Uxin said that she didn't give them to you. Just hand them over. If you use them, then return them to Uxin. Then, this matter will be over. Otherwise, she'll call the police." Gu Qin heard this and knew what was going on. She said to Sister Lee, "Don't worry, Sister Lee. I'll make her return them." Xiao Su was a little angry. "I didn't steal anything. Uxin had given her a lot of things. If they were to be converted to cash, it would be a large sum." Xiao Su felt her liver hurt. To be able to invite a celebrity to endorse a product, that meant that the business was powerful. Some branded products were quite expensive. Sisterly was trying her best to do something that would make Ning Shu happy. She was afraid that she would flip the boat on impulse and cause everyone to be in a mess. Gu Qing ignored Xiao Su's grievance. Who cared if you stole anything? She just wanted to vent her anger and find trouble with you. I'll get her to return the things soon, Gu Qing said. After Sisterly left, Xiao Su immediately said, Sister Gu Qing, I didn't steal anything. She really gave me those things. Now, she's slandering me. Alright, if you still want this matter to be over, then don't return the things. I can use this reason to make you go to the police station. You did such a thing to her. Do you think she'll let you off so easily? Gu Qing felt that this cheap assistant's brain was not ordinary. You asked me to do that. Xiao Su was a little confident in front of Gu Qing. Gu Qing sneered. I asked you to do it, so you did it. You were just greedy for that little bit of money. Don't blame anyone. Gu Qing really didn't like such an assistant, even if she had asked Xiao Su to do it. If this had happened to him, he would have been unhappy as well. Gu Qing completely understood what she did. I don't have that much money. Xiao Su looked at Gu Qing. Her meaning was obvious. Gu Qing said directly, what does this have to do with me? You took her things, not me. The things were used by Xiao Su. She actually wanted her to pay for it. Was there nothing wrong with her? She had never seen such a thick-skinned person. Chapter 3387. Xiao Su had no choice but to return the money. If he didn't return the money, he would be labeled as a thief. Xiao Su's heart ached when these things were exchanged for cash. Ning Shu received two sums of money. One was from Xiao Su and the other was from Gu Qing. Gu Qing gave him 100,000 yuan. She probably wanted to settle this matter with money. Ning Shu returned the money to Gu Qing and didn't want it. He wouldn't interact with such a person. Gu Qing didn't dare to act rashly with something in her hands. After dealing with Gu Qing and Xiao Su, it was time for Ning Shu to deal with Guoxiang and leave this world as soon as possible. There was nothing to stay in this world. There were no treasures and the work was very tiring. Because he had a body, he often felt tired. The state of his soul was better and he wouldn't feel tired so quickly. He couldn't even sleep well. The pressure in this line of work was really high. The opportunity for this matter came very quickly. In the plot, it was because of a man that Guoxiang was angered. That was why such a conflict happened. This man was actually a friend of the client. They were from the same school and were friends during university. This time, this man had returned to the country and was just asking Ning Shu out for a meal. This time, Guoxiang didn't come to secretly take photos, but other paparazzi did. Now that her popularity was steadily increasing, she was considered to be quite popular. There must be paparazzi following her. Ning Shu knew that someone was secretly taking photos, so he didn't say anything. A popular artiste meeting a mysterious man in private. It was a very attractive title. If Guoxiang saw it, he would be so angry that he would definitely try to find her. Ning Shu met the man. This man was called Yan Yang. He looked handsome and was wearing a casual suit. He looked very chic. When he saw Ning Shu, he smiled. Yo, long time no see. Junior has become a big star. I can't even recognize you when I see your advertisement on the big screen in the square. Ning Shu said, it's nothing much. It's just some youth. Are you still going to leave this time? I'm not leaving. I want to settle down in the country. My mother has already gone crazy. She said that if I don't get married, she will put righteousness before family. Yan Yang spread his hands helplessly. What do you want to eat? My treat. Yan Yang handed the menu to Ning Shu. Ning Shu ordered a few dishes and asked, Senior, you didn't come to me just to treat me, right? Ning Shu had already noticed that there was a strange guest in the restaurant. This guest was wearing a hat and sunglasses, and he was sneaking glances at them. Wouldn't it be too obvious to follow someone in such a disguise? If they weren't looking at her, they were looking at Yan Yang. She was a middle-aged woman who had maintained herself very well. If he wasn't mistaken, this woman should be Yan Yang's mother. Ning Shu immediately rolled his eyes and looked at Yan Yang with his chin propped up. "Senior, you're really not a friend. You're treating me to a meal because you want to use me. What, you want me to be your shield?" "Yan Yang, well, I'll tell you the truth. I've just returned to the country. I've never thought about getting married, and I don't have the heart to start a family. My mother has already gone crazy. When she sees other people have grandchildren, she talks about it every day." Ning Shu sighed. What happened after that made the client experience such a thing? Yan Yang also didn't know. He could only say that fate made fools of people. Yan Yang's mother wasn't the only one peeping here. There were also some paparazzi peeping here. "Well, let's use each other." Yan Yang cut the steak for Ning Shu, which made the middle-aged woman not far away very excited. Ning Shu ate the steak and suddenly said, "Senior, don't tell me you don't like women. That's why Auntie is so anxious to get you married. You're already over 30 years old. What are you talking about? I like women. I don't want to get married because I haven't met the right person. Besides, 30 years old is the time when a man is like a flower. How can I get married for no reason? But my mother is crazy. I have no choice but to find a reason to reject her. My mother is probably watching our meeting this time." Ning Shu stabbed the steak with a fork and smiled sinisterly. "Senior wants to have a scandal with me. Didn't you ask for my opinion? Hey, how can it be considered a scandal? It's just a meal between friends. As for how my mother misunderstood, it's not just our business, right?" Yan Yang said. "It's just a meal. My mother won't think too much." "No, your mother has already thought a lot. She's probably already thinking about the birth of her grandson." This meal was really. Both of them had ulterior motives. When it was time to leave, Yan Yang was very polite and wanted to send Ning Shu off. Ning Shu thought about it. Since he was acting, he had to go all out. He nodded in agreement. The gossip would probably spread even more. Not only did they eat together, but they also left together. "I'll try my best to write it." Yan Yang asked Ning Shu, "Where do you live?" Ning Shu told him the address. Yan Yang smiled, "That's quite a coincidence. We're quite close to each other. My house isn't far away. It's in another district." The rich district was an assembly. It was divided into several areas. Ning Shu raised his eyebrows. Yan Yang's family situation wasn't bad. But to be able to study abroad, his family must be well off. "What are you planning to do?" Yan Yang said, "You probably don't know. My family runs a hospital. My family has been in the medical field for generations. I went abroad to study to learn about medicine. But you chose to major in computer science in university? Who knew that you actually studied medicine? Since you studied medicine, why didn't you choose to major in medicine in university?" There was a huge difference between a computer and a doctor. "Because it's fun. When I was in university, I was in my rebellious phase. My family was either a doctor or a nurse. I didn't want to be in this industry, so I just randomly chose a major." Ning Shu, "Rich people were so willful." But since his family was in the medical field, he should have started to learn professional knowledge from a young age. The paparazzi followed the car all the way to the door and took photos. Ning Shu said to Yan Yang with a fake smile, "Then goodbye, senior. You think that you can fool your mother by just meeting her for a meal? You will find that there will be more trouble. Your mother will ask you when you started, how old is the girl, what is her occupation, what does her family do? In short, she will dig out all 18 generations of her ancestors. Yan Yang waved at Ning Shu. Okay then, if you continue to be despicable, I'm leaving. Oh right, you're an ugly duckling now. I didn't see you this beautiful in university. Ning Shu flipped his hair. What are you talking about? I was still pretty in university. At most, my temperament wasn't as good as now. Temperament is the key. Yan Yang smiled. Okay, you've always been pretty. Keep in touch. Ning Shu curled his lips. You want me to be your shield? Chapter 3388. Yan Yang said, don't be so direct. I'm not your shield. We're just friends having a meal together. Ning Shu shook his head. That won't do. My company doesn't allow celebrities to get into a relationship for no reason and create scandals. I'm afraid that the company already knows that I met you today. It's such a big price to pay just to meet you. Let's not do it in the future. Ning Shu rejected him directly. Yan Yang looked at Ning Shu with pity. You're so pitiful. It's so pitiful to be a celebrity. Ning Shu said. But I have a lot of money. There are also many people who admire and like me. That's true. There are gains and losses. Alright, I won't disturb you in the future. There's a distance between celebrities and ordinary people like us. Yan Yang drove away. Soon, the gossip was out. Ning Shu saw it on his computer. There were pictures and the truth. Yan Yang's face was blurry and gave people a mysterious feeling. Ning Shu pursed his lips. Why was Yan Yang at the same table so blurry? Who was he trying to fool? Sisterly found Ning Shu. Su 1, did Ning Shu really start dating? Ning Shu shook his head and denied it. He said that they were just university classmates and that they should have a meal together. Sisterly said, if you're in a relationship or want to get married, you have to let the company know first so that they can prepare. A woman's youth is only so many years. If you choose to withdraw, it'll be a pity. Ning Shu nodded to show that he understood. He didn't have such thoughts for the time being. Yan Yang hung up the phone with Ning Shu. Thanks to you, this is the first time I'm on the gossip news. It's just that my face is blurry. Ning Shu was speechless. Brother, you seem to be very excited. Guoxiang was also excited when he saw the news. Guoxiang was locked at home, but he had a computer and could still receive information from the outside world. Only with the internet, computer, and phone could he find out what he wanted to know. When she saw the title and pictures of the new gossip article, she immediately exploded and smashed her computer into a mess. Such a big commotion alerted her family. When she opened the door and saw that he had smashed the computer into pieces, she was also very angry. His mental illness had acted up again. Guoxiang used brute force to knock away the people blocking the door and ran out of the house. His family was so anxious that they chased after him. Right now, Guoxiang was just a branch. If something happened to him and he hurt someone, what would they do? Although it wasn't illegal for a lunatic to kill someone, their family members would definitely be implicated and would have to pay compensation. The house could no longer contain this lunatic. Ning Shu had long known that Guoxiang was coming. When the guard at the door called Ning Shu, he said that there was a person at the door who had been clamoring to see her. He couldn't chase her away, and her mental state was a little scary. Ning Shu went to the guardhouse and saw several security guards holding down Guoxiang, who was struggling. Guoxiang's eyes were bloodshot and he roared, "Let me go. I want to see Yusin. I'm her fan. There are some things that I need her to explain." Ning Shu appeared in front of Guoxiang after calling the police. When Guoxiang saw Ning Shu, he immediately shouted, "Yusin, those reports are not true, are they? They are photoshopped. Those gossip reporters made them up." You didn't meet the mysterious man at all, did you? Guoxiang was stopped by the security guards. There was no way for him to get close to Ning Shu. Ning Shu said directly, there is such a thing. You. Guoxiang's expression was as if he had been struck by lightning. He was dumbfounded and forgot to struggle. How can you do this? You are as pure as ice and jade. How can you do what ordinary women do? Meet a man in private. Who is he? Guoxiang was heartbroken and felt that Ning Shu's image had collapsed. Ning Shu said, don't get excited. It's just a college classmate. He came back to China and we just had a meal together. It's just a meal. You have been deceived. A man won't invite you to a meal for no reason. He must have some dirty thoughts about you. You have always been good before. Why did you have a scandal with her? In front of the security guard, Ning Shu said righteously, although you are my fan, you can't interfere with my actions. I just had a meal with a friend, and you're acting like this. It's really not right. I'm wrong. Who is wrong? Guoxiang was so excited that his eyes were red. This expression was the resentment after being deceived. He felt that he had been deceived. I have liked you for so long, but you actually deceived me. Bitch. You are no different from other women. Ning Shu said, this is my private life. It has nothing to do with you. Please don't be like this, okay? Who I meet is my business. I thank you for liking me and supporting me, but this is not the reason for you to monitor me and follow me. Guoxiang felt that these words were very familiar. It seemed that she had also said these words to his monster. So, for you Xian, he was a monster-like existence. This was a bit of a blow to Guoxiang. He liked you Xian, but you Xian treated him like this. The security guards also felt that this kind of fan was simply inexplicable. Even a star could meet other people. Besides, even if something were to happen, it would be human nature. Ordinary people have desires. Celebrities are also human. He had never met such a fanatical fan before. Guoxiang was suddenly filled with strength. He broke free from the security guard's control and Ning Shu rushed over. Ning Shu dodged Guoxiang, but he still fell to the ground. He looked at Guoxiang in horror. You, what are you doing? Do you know that you are wrong? Guoxiang saw Ning Shu's pitiful appearance. He did not know why, but a surge of anger came to his heart. Women were used to deceiving people like this. He thought that Yu Xian was a woman as pure as ice and as pure as jade, a different kind of smoke and fire. What different kind of life? There were thousands of women in the world. All bitches were the same. The security guards quickly came up and pulled Guoxiang. They were also quite speechless. He actually wanted to beat people. This person must have a problem with his brain. Ning Shu got up from the ground and said to Guoxiang, I know that your mind is not good. You can't stand stimulation. Okay, I will say. That person has nothing to do with me. Liar, you liar. The more pretentious Ning Shu was, the more agitated Guoxiang became. He struggled without caring about anything. Several security guards held him down, and he actually almost broke free. If you really have nothing to do with him, why did you go to eat with him and let the paparazzi take pictures and create this kind of scandal? Guoxiang looked at Ning Shu with hatred. At this time, he was still pretending. He thought that he was a pure white lotus. In the end, he was a green tea bitch. A green tea bitch is worse than a white lotus. Chapter 3389. At least White Lotus looked good. She looked pure on the surface, but now she also looked dirty. Not long after Ning Shu called the police arrived and detained Guoxiang. They took his statement and the security guards also recorded his statement. Ning Shu also went to the police station to record his statement. At the same time, the police also informed Guoxiang's family to come and pick him up. Guoxiang's behavior had already disrupted the social order in the eyes of the people. Soon Guoxiang's family arrived. When they heard that he was at the police station, their hearts skipped a beat. They knew that he had rushed out to cause trouble. Look, he was actually at the police station. The Guo family came and explained the situation to the police. They said that Guoxiang was mentally ill and that he was a psychopath. They repeatedly apologized to Ning Shu. Ning Shu said, "I'm fine, but since he's sick, we should take good care of him." Fortunately, there were security guards this time. Without them, I don't know what would have happened to a girl like me. I think his mood is very unstable. If he did something, it would be troublesome. Yes, we will definitely take good care of him. The Guo family saw that Ning Shu didn't seem to want to pursue the matter and immediately said gratefully, "We will never let him disturb you in the future." Ning Shu just reluctantly smiled. His face was pale. He was obviously frightened. Ning Shu signed the statement and looked back when he left the police station. The Guo family was also impatient that Guoxiang had caused such a thing. They estimated that he would be sent to a professional mental hospital. It was not safe at home at all. If he went crazy, he wouldn't even recognize people and would directly kill everyone in the family. That would be the most terrifying thing. The most important thing was that it wasn't illegal for a psychopath to kill people. Yusin. Yan Yang rolled down the window and shouted to Ning Shu, who was standing on the side of the road. Ning Shu raised his eyebrows and asked, "Why are you here?" "Passing by." Ning Shu, Passing by the police station. Yan Yang, "Well, I heard that you came here for something, so I came to find you." "You don't have a car, right?" "I'll send you." He had heard from the security guard that he had come to this police station, so he came over to see if there was anything he could help with. Ning Shu opened the car door, got in and asked, "Why are you looking for me? Why do I feel like you're up to no good?" Ning Shu said bluntly. Yan Yang laughed and asked, "What's the matter that brought you to the police station?" Ning Shu pursed his lips. "It's because the paparazzi took a picture of me having a meal with you. Then, my fans couldn't take it anymore and said that I'm not pure anymore. They said that I'm eating with a stinky man and that you've tainted my purity." Yan Yang. "I'm afraid this fan of yours is sick. She's so paranoid. Based on my many years of experience as a doctor, she's not far from being a lunatic. She must have suffered some trauma to be so strict with women. Your relationship failed." Ning Shu shook his head. "I don't think you've ever been in love. An otaku who was addicted to the internet. It would be strange if he had a girlfriend. I think he subconsciously felt that he might be rejected by a woman and didn't dare to pursue a woman. Because of his lack of confidence, he hated and was afraid of women. He would definitely be picked on and rejected by women. He found a virtual and real person like you to entrust his feelings to. You've become impure. Isn't that the same as deceiving other men's feelings?" Yan Yang said with a smile. Ning Shu rolled his eyes. "Your analysis is clear and logical. Also, you've been a doctor for many years. Didn't he just come back? You can say that. I've been exposed to these things since I was young." Yan Yang asked Ning Shu, "Are you free?" Ning Shu, "I don't have time. Don't be so quick to reject me. I'm also afraid of being rejected by women. I might do something extreme." If he could say it out loud, he wouldn't do it. Moreover, when Yan Yang was in university, he was a famous person. He wasn't famous, but he was quite popular, especially among girls. After all, he was handsome and there were many girls who secretly liked him and wrote him love letters. However, Yan Yang didn't date anyone. It was probably because he looked down on them or because of other reasons. Ning Shu, getting involved with you is the beginning of my troubles. Senior, let's not be in the same frame. I'm afraid that I'll encounter some unlucky things again. Yan Yang raised his eyebrows and clicked his tongue. I've never seen someone change their mind so quickly. Didn't we have a meal together before? Why are you changing your mind now? My mother wants to treat you to a meal. Ning Shu, damn, what's going on? Why do I have to meet your mother? Yan Yang sighed. My mother bumped into you when we had a meal together last time. She wants to get to know you. Bumped into him? He was obviously following him. Ning Shu shook his head. Tell Auntie that I'm very busy with work and can't go for a meal. Also, we're just ordinary people. Is it appropriate for you to ask me to meet your mother? Ning Shu immediately became alert and looked at Yan Yang. Don't tell me you have some bad intentions towards me. Yan Yang, no, it's just that I'm being pestered. My mother has already gone crazy, so I need your help. Ning Shu, she's not my mother. Whoever's mother is responsible. It's not right for you to drag others into this. If your mother really misunderstands, then it won't be good. My career is on the rise now. There are only a few golden years left. Don't create trouble for me. Yan Yang. Aren't you thinking too much? My mother just wants to meet you. If you don't perform well, she'll directly remove you from the list of daughters-in-law. You're from the entertainment industry. Everyone says that the entertainment industry is messy. My mother will be 80% dissatisfied if she hears it, so you can rest assured. Ning Shu was speechless. What rest assured? The question is, why do I have to do this with you? What's in it for me? If I have so much free time, I might as well go to work. Ning Shu was even more suspicious. Yan Yang, are you trying to trick me? Hey, you can't be thinking of chasing me, right? She had seen a lot of tricks, so she didn't really care about this kind of trick. Yan Yang, how can you be so talkative? You're always the one talking. What trick? You're thinking too much. I've never thought of tricking you. Then find someone else to act with you. My appearance fee is too expensive. You can't afford it. When they reached the door, Ning Shu got out of the car and said to Yan Yang, don't covet my beauty. Yan Yang laughed and shook his head. He stuck his head out of the car window and said to her, tell me, how much is your beauty worth? Just treat it as a job. If you can deal with my mother, I'll thank you. Yan Yang was really distressed. Chapter 3390. When you get married and give birth, come to my hospital. How about it? You'll be a VIP customer of the confinement center. The high-end confinement center costs more than 100,000 yuan a month. Ning Shu, thank you so much for thinking so far ahead for me. You even thought of confinement. Of course. Have you thought about it? When are you free? I'll arrange it. When the time comes, you just have to act like a spoiled and arrogant superstar. Even if my mom is anxious to find me a wife, she won't invite an ancestor home. Ning Shu, why do you have to do this? If you didn't invite me to dinner, there wouldn't be so many problems. Ning Shu couldn't help but say. Without Yan Yang, the client wouldn't have been photographed by Wuxia having a meal with him, and what happened later would not have happened. To some extent, from Wuxia being a fan of Wuxia to evolving into a crazy Saising fan, something would have happened sooner or later, and Yan Yang accelerated this tragedy. Ning Shu thought of this, and her attitude towards Yan Yang was very cold. She wasn't Wuxia, and she wasn't the client. Anyway, she would leave sooner or later, and it was fine to keep a distance from this man. As for whether the client had a knot in her heart or not, it was none of her business. Yan Yang was also innocent. After all, he didn't know anything. But she also had to interact less. She had to avoid scandals. She was a virgin. I saw your advertisement and felt a little surprised. A familiar person suddenly became a big star, so I wanted to meet you. Did I cause you trouble? Yan Yang's expression became much more serious. Did the previous scandals affect you? Ning Shu said, yes, the company has already warned me. If there's a next time, I won't be able to keep the resources in my hands. My image doesn't allow me to have scandals. Okay, senior, let's interact less in the future. If you want to deal with Auntie, you should find a real girlfriend. Everything will be solved. Do you think it's so easy to find a girlfriend? If it was so easy, I wouldn't have come to you. You also know that I just returned to China, and I don't have time to meet girls. My mom asks me to go on blind dates every day. I came back to show off in my career, not to go on blind dates all day. Ning Shu, what does it have to do with me? Ning Shu said, you should say that to Auntie. It's useless to say it to me. Also, you want me to make fun of myself, act like a big shot, and be arrogant. Celebrities have to maintain their image, understand? Senior, it's not that I don't want to help you, but there's nothing I can do. Take care of yourself. Ning Shu turned around and left. Yan Yang sighed, started the car and left. What a sharp-tongued girl. When did this junior become so talkative? She was like a Gatling gun. He really had no way of dealing with his mother's urging to get married. Uxin, this girl, had once again thrown herself into her career. She was quite similar to him in this aspect. Career was the most important thing in life. Love would fade, dissipate, and change, but career was different. Career was something that continued to grow, but love was different. It was a consumable. Everyone wanted their lives to be a history of blood-boiling struggles, not a romance novel to pass the time. Since it was like this, Yan Yang respected her and shouldn't disturb her with such careless and boring things. But when he thought of his vicious mother at home, Yan Yang felt that his head was about to explode. On the other side, Wuxia was brought home by his family. His expression was indignant, his eyes were red, and he was muttering things like liar, bitch, and so on. What made people tremble in fear was that if this was a lunatic, then what was lunatic? Jade Guoxiang's family decided to send Guoxiang to a mental hospital. Mental hospitals were specialized in treatment, and patients were not allowed to leave before they recovered. His tone told him to stay at home, which made people tremble in fear. They were afraid that he would run out and cause trouble again. They even had to keep an eye on him, so they might as well send him to a specialized hospital. At most, they would just spend some money. Everyone's lives would be better, and they wouldn't have to worry. Their family members could also go out to work. Although he would be locked up in a hospital, he would be safe. With doctors and nurses taking care of him, it would definitely be better than them. Actually, the Guo family knew in their hearts that sending Guoxiang to a mental hospital was the same as being in jail. He wouldn't be able to leave if he didn't recover. If he didn't recover, he would have to stay in the hospital for the rest of his life. Wasn't it just a change of direction of going to jail? And he would have to spend time with a bunch of lunatics every day. But it was safe to leave him in the hospital. He wouldn't cause any trouble. To a certain extent, the Guo family had already given up on Guoxiang. It was already good enough to pay the medical fees and hospitalization fees every month. That was how the Guo family comforted themselves. Then, they called the mental hospital. Soon, the car from the hospital arrived. Because he was a lunatic, there were many nurses and doctors. When a lunatic went crazy, there weren't many people who couldn't control him. Guoxiang was escorted into the car. He struggled and shouted at his family, "What are you doing? Let me go, I'm not sick." He saw the spray paint on the car, XXX Mental Hospital. He already said that he wasn't crazy. Did he look like he was? Guoxiang panicked and begged his family, "I'm really not sick. You have to believe me." Guoxiang felt that his mind was normal. He didn't say that even if someone talked to him, no one would believe him. Instead, his family would think that he was crazy. Moreover, if he went to the hospital, he would have to spend time with a real lunatic. Guoxiang felt that he would go crazy. The Guo family couldn't bear it, but when they thought of what Guoxiang had done before, they didn't know what he would do when his condition worsened. It was mentally and physically exhausting. They might as well spend some money and let the doctors and nurses worry about him. Although this kind of thinking was heartless, it was still a burden to get rid of, so they felt relieved. Guoxiang was still dragged away. The Guo family followed him and went through all kinds of procedures. Of course, before entering the hospital, they had to confirm whether he was really crazy. This time, Guoxiang learned his lesson. When asked if he had auditory hallucinations, he denied it and said that he didn't have these symptoms. Without these symptoms, they couldn't say that he was crazy. Moreover, that ghost hadn't appeared for a while. But he had a feeling that it was staring at him from far and near. Even if he said it, no one would believe him. They would only say that he was crazy. However, what Guoxiang didn't expect was that even though his answers were all correct and normal, they still determined that he was crazy. What a scam! Guoxiang wanted to tear these quacks apart. He had already answered properly. Why was he still crazy? If that was the case, then everyone in the world was crazy. There should be a standard. Guoxiang was very afraid. Chapter 3391. No matter how hard Guoxiang struggled, it was useless. He was forced to go to the hospital. His family was really exhausted. Guoxiang, who often had problems, made his family tremble in fear. Instead of being so frightened, it was better to just put him in the hospital. He wouldn't run around and cause trouble. Guoxiang saw that there was no room for negotiation. He looked at his family with resentment. Why don't you believe me? Why? I'm really not sick, not sick. He was so manic that no one believed that he was really not sick. Ning Shu used the curse technique to go invisible and went to the hospital to see Guoxiang. Guoxiang was wearing a hospital gown and secretly threw away the medicine. Guoxiang didn't take these medicine. There was nothing wrong with him. If he really took it, he would really go crazy. After only staying in the hospital for a day or two, Guoxiang was already driven crazy by the atmosphere of the hospital. The people here were all crazy. These patients did all kinds of inexplicable things. Their faces were distorted when they laughed, and some of the patients were aggressive. They would beat you up for no reason. There was no normal person here except for the doctors and nurses. He wanted to go home. He told the doctor again and again that there was nothing wrong with him. But the doctor just didn't listen. The hospital was like a prison of depression and despair. He had no way to escape. The high walls were covered with electric fences. Not to mention that such a high wall couldn't be climbed over, there was also an electric fence. How could a body of flesh and blood compete with electricity? He really despised these crazy people. They even stuffed feces into his mouth. He was extremely disgusted. After staying in the hospital for a while, Guoxiang felt that his worldview was about to collapse. He didn't want to be here, no. But the ghost who pestered him to talk before didn't talk now. It had been a long time since he talked to him. He also didn't choke him. In such a lonely and desperate environment, it was normal to be the only one around. He was forced to get along with these abnormal people. He couldn't stand it. He would rather talk to the invisible ghost. At least one person was still by his side. But now the ghost didn't talk. Guoxiang felt like he had been abandoned by the whole world. She had been abandoned by her idol. What purity! It was all a lie. Her image had collapsed. Wuxian's persona had collapsed, but his worldview had completely collapsed. In the past, he told Guo Mei not to follow him and told him to scram, but he didn't scram. Now, he was starting to miss the ghost, but the ghost had disappeared. What kind of plaything is this? You're not here when I need you, but when I don't need you, I can't even get rid of you. Ning Shu stood by the window and looked at Guoxiang, who was in the ward. He was very annoyed. It was normal for him to be annoyed. After all, Guoxiang's mental state was fine. Moreover, without the internet, Wuxia would be in great pain. Without the internet, cell phones, and computers, life would be meaningless. Nothing to do. Days drag on like years. Since it was an illness, there was a possibility of recovery. If Guoxiang was discharged from the hospital and became a normal person, he would have freedom. In that case, there was a possibility that they would come back to pester the client. Therefore, he still needed a strong dose of medicine. Ning Shu walked through the wall and came to Guoxiang's bedside. He shouted, "Guoxiang." Guoxiang opened his eyes. He looked very surprised. "You're here. Why haven't you talked to me for so long?" Guoxiang was really too lonely now. He actually used Gui Mei, who he usually hated, as his spiritual sustenance. Ning Shu said, "Why are you being treated as a lunatic?" Guoxiang rolled his eyes. "Who are you doing this for? Is it because of you that I became like this? Aren't you very capable? Can you let me out? I really don't want to stay here." The patient next to him was sleeping soundly. The sound of teeth grinding was as loud as a chainsaw. The one next to him was talking in his sleep. He sneered like an owl. How could he sleep in such an environment? He couldn't live anymore. Guoxiang had no choice. He could only pin his hopes on the invisible ghost. No matter what price he had to pay, he had to leave here. From the monitoring of the ward, Guoxiang was talking to himself, and his expression was quite rich. Guoxiang was talking to the air. This was completely a sign of a lunatic. Guoxiang was not very sure whether he was a lunatic or not. After all, his mind was clearer than the average lunatic. However, the patient's family insisted that Guoxiang was a lunatic. Such family members were rare. Therefore, the hospital temporarily kept Guoxiang for further examination. However, seeing this scene through the monitoring, it was most likely determined that this person was a little sick. At least there were cases of auditory hallucinations. Generally speaking, the patient talked to himself because he heard his friend talking to him and then talked to himself. It was as if someone was really talking to him. There were monitoring in the ward of the mental hospital. It was convenient to check the patient's situation at all times. It was different from ordinary patients. Guoxiang begged Ning Shu to let him leave, but Ning Shu directly cut off Guoxiang's hope. "No, I think this place is very good. I like to let you stay here." "You, how is this place good? You don't even know how scary this place is." Each of them was a lunatic. They took a lot of medicine every day. Even if he was a normal person, he would have problems. "Ning Shu, I won't take you away, but I'm going to leave you. I thought you were an interesting person, but now it seems that you are as boring as them." "What did you say?" Guoxiang was stunned. In the past, he hoped that Ghost could leave every day, but now that she had really left, Guoxiang couldn't take it anymore. In this scary place, Ghost, who used to be very scary, wasn't scary anymore. She was even the only person who could accompany him. Now, this person was going to leave too. "Don't go. I'm scared alone." Another person was going to leave him. His family, his idol, and now Ghost, who had always been worried and scared, was going to leave too. He felt that he would go crazy sooner or later if he was alone in such a scary place. He would end up like these lunatics. The high wall divided the world into two worlds. The world inside was crazy and desperate, and the world outside was beautiful. But he couldn't see it anymore. Ning Shu said, "Do you want me to take you away?" "Yes, can you take me away? Please." Guoxiang had to beg for help like the terrified and disgusted Ghost. If he left again, he would be the only one left in this world. There would be no one left. Ning Shu said, "There is only one way to take you away." Guoxiang quickly asked, "What way?" Ning Shu, "That means I'll eat you." Chapter 3392. Eat him. Guoxiang was so scared that he almost rolled off the bed. He stuttered, "You're going to eat me. You're going to eat people." Ning Shu, "Of course, I'm a ghost. Of course, ghosts eat people, eat souls. I don't care about eating meat, I'll eat your soul too. Don't eat me, don't eat me." Guoxiang tried to escape the ward, but the door was locked from the outside. Without the keys of the doctors and nurses, it couldn't be opened. Guoxiang sat on the ground weakly. "Don't eat me, don't eat me. Get out, get out." Guoxiang's face was full of tears. His face was distorted because of fear. He kicked his legs and shrank his feet, waving his hands. The nurse on duty saw this scene from the surveillance camera and her expression was very calm. Crazy people often fell into their own thoughts. They clearly did nothing, but it was as if someone had done something to them. In such a situation, the patient should be given a tranquilizer. If this continued, it would be very harmful to the patient's mental health, especially when the patient was immersed in fear, it would worsen his condition. The doctors and nurses on duty came quickly. It was a large group. After all, crazy people were very aggressive. Ning Shu saw that the invisibility effect was about to wear off. When the doctors and nurses came, they left. In the future, when he had nothing to do, he would scare Guoxiang and say that he was going to eat him. His mind was completely occupied by fear. How annoying was it to be stalked and threatened by others. Therefore, Ning Shu came a little later every day. Not only did he scare him with his mouth, but he would also occasionally use his hands. After a period of torment, the doctor was completely sure that this guy was mentally ill. No one could scare himself to the point that his face was distorted. He had to be given a tranquilizer every time, but it couldn't be given too much. Therefore, when it was late, the doctors and nurses took necessary measures to tie Guoxiang to the bed and not let him run around. Guoxiang was in despair. "Do you know that someone wants to kill me? You still tied me up. You murderers, you're all accomplices." Guoxiang roared at the doctors and nurses, but no one paid attention to him. "Who wants to kill you? It's all your own imagination. Who wants to kill you in this hospital?" In short, the doctors and nurses did not see anyone kill him. Guoxiang was scared out of his wits. At night, he shivered and begged the doctor, "Please, there is really a ghost who wants to kill me, and eat my soul." "Doctor." No matter what Guoxiang said, no one believed him. If he was tied up like porcelain, it would be easier for the ghosts to make their move. He must have destroyed the world in his previous life for him to meet such an evil ghost in this life. Why didn't anyone come to capture this evil spirit? Seeing that Guoxiang was tied up, of course, he didn't hold back. He made Guoxiang come to the brink of death several times, but he didn't die. Death brushed past Guoxiang once. His mind was completely occupied by fear. Guoxiang's expression began to shrink in fear, and even the slightest movement would make him jump up in fright. Guoxiang was flustered and exasperated. Sometimes, he would smash a broken jar and say, "Come and kill me, kill me." Ning Shu would of course satisfy Guoxiang's request. In a while, Guoxiang would very obediently surrender and beg Ning Shu to let him go. Ning Shu wouldn't really kill Guoxiang. Instead, he wanted Guoxiang to stay here obediently. During the day, Ning Shu would rush to work. After all, work was very important. However, something that made Ning Shu feel very speechless happened. Someone began to peep at her again. And the peeping person was a middle-aged woman. This middle-aged woman looked very familiar. She had met her in the restaurant before. It was Yan Yang's mother. Why did Yan Yang's mother come to visit her? She was obviously here to observe her. Ning Shu facepalmed. What did Yan Yang say to his mother that made her come to observe her? During the break in filming, Ning Shu directly took a bottle of water and handed it to her. "Auntie, drink some water. The weather is so hot." "Hey, you found me." Yan Yang's mother simply took off her mask. "It's so hot. It must be very hard to film in this kind of weather." Ning Shu. "This is my job." Yes, it's good to be dedicated. Little girls have to work hard." Yan Yang's mother unscrewed the water bottle, but she couldn't unscrew it for a long time. Ning Shu silently took the water bottle in her hand and easily unscrewed it. "Oh, not bad." Yan Yang's mother was very happy. Girls should look weak, but they have the strength of steel. If there's someone next to us, we can't unscrew the bottle cap. If there's no one and we can only rely on ourselves, we can carry the gas tank up to the 5th floor. Ning Shu, Yan Yang's mother, was really outstanding. "Oh right, when are you free? I'll treat you to a meal." She didn't come with good intentions. One who was unaccountably solicitous was hiding evil intentions. Ning Shu directly said, "Auntie, Yan Yang and I are not like what you think, really. And in recent years, I haven't thought about dating or getting married." Yan Yang's mother was urging him to get married. Not to mention a few years, she couldn't wait for her son to get married now. How can you not get married? A girl's youth is only a few years. Ning Shu. It's because you have a few years of youth. You can't waste it. Marriage is a consumable. When necessary, you have to make concessions and compromises for marriage. And work is a value-added product. Sigh, girls nowadays don't like to get married. All the girls I know are so hardworking. Why is marriage like life-threatening? Because marriage won't improve my situation and my life. Why do I have to get married? And he didn't even have a marriage partner. How can you talk about such a profound question? I like you, I'm your fan. Let me treat you to a meal, okay? Please don't reject the heart of an old auntie. Ning Shu. I want to refuse. Auntie, I really don't have time. Yan Yang's mother felt that she was a woman with a high EQ. Women with a high EQ lived very well and were very confident. It's okay. Whenever you're free is fine. By the way, are you allowed to visit the set? I'll come visit in the future. Ning Shu, was this a threat? It was obviously a threat. If you don't let me treat you, then I'll keep waiting. Ning Shu smiled slightly. Auntie, then you have to pay attention to the sun. Being exposed to the sun will make you old. Yan Yang's mother, her sore spot was stepped on. However, Yan Yang's mother still insisted on waiting. Ning Shu couldn't stand it anymore. He called Yan Yang and asked him to come and take his mother back. On such a hot day, such persistence was enough to see how much Yan Yang's mother longed for a daughter-in-law. However, the person she was waiting for was wrong. When Yan Yang arrived, he saw his mother wearing armor and not a single bit of skin exposed. It was really a headache. It was a terrible headache. It's the fastest novel website. Chapter 3393. No matter what, his mother didn't bother him recently. She didn't despise him for being a good-for-nothing who didn't even have a girlfriend. She even left early and returned late every day mysteriously. In the end, she came to find Yusin. His mother was really going to heaven. You're here to visit too? Mother Yen looked at her son in surprise, as if she had caught him in an adulterous relationship. Yan Yang said expressionlessly, I'm here to find you and take you back. You've already seriously affected Yusin's work. I really have nothing to do with her. Don't try to matchmake us, okay? How can it affect you? I'll just watch from the side and won't make a sound. I won't disturb you. Yan Yang, Mom, you've gotten a lot darker recently and you've also aged a lot. The damage from being exposed to the sun is permanent. Mother Yan hurriedly touched her face. Really? Have I really aged a lot? No, I have to go to the beauty salon to do some maintenance. But, Yusin, when are we going to have a meal? Recently, I've realized that I've become a fan of yours. I'm your fan. Ning Shu, that she was now afraid of hearing the word fan. After getting rid of Guxiang, this obsessive fan, she now had a mother-in-law fan. And her intentions were very obvious. She wanted to set her up with Yan Yang, but the two of them didn't have much chemistry. Since you're here, I'm leaving. Mother Yan couldn't wait to arm herself to the teeth and drive away. She probably went to the beauty salon. Ning Shu said to Yan Yang, can't you find a girlfriend? To be honest, your mother has already affected my work. Yan Yang said, I'm sorry, I didn't expect my mother to do this. I'll ask her to be more careful in the future. Is it easy to have a girlfriend? Yan Yang's expression was very helpless as he looked at Ning Shu. Ning Shu looked at him sideways, don't have any ideas. I'm an artist. Don't try to fake it and use me as a shield. And if your mother gets serious, I'll have more trouble. Yan Yang. You're thinking too much. I didn't even say anything. You're rejecting me again and again. I'm starting to doubt my life. Do I not have any charm at all? Are you not tempted at all? Yan Yang doubted his own charm. When I was in university, weren't there a lot of girls who liked me? Why is there no one now? Ning Shu didn't comment on Yan Yang's charm. Your hospital probably has a lot of nurses and female doctors who have a good impression of you, right? Let your mother choose from these people. Everyone is in the same profession, so it's better. I told your mother straight up that we're not suitable for each other. My face belongs to the masses. I was born so beautiful, sigh, Yan Yang. Perhaps it was because Yan Yang had communicated with his mother that she didn't bother Ning Shu anymore. After all, Yan Yang's mother seemed to be a reasonable person. But this time, it was Yan Yang who had nothing to do and came to visit. Ning Shu looked at Yan Yang indifferently, what's going on here? You guys changed shifts, right? The pressure of being an artist was really fucking huge. The competition between people in the same industry and the obsessive fans that usually made people break down, yet in the end, such a situation happened. Yan Yang, I've successfully convinced my mother not to come and visit you. So? Ning Shu was really speechless. Couldn't he just let her finish her work peacefully? Yan Yang, so it's my turn. I'm just going through the motions to let my mother know that I've been here. You don't have to care about me. Ning Shu was really angry. He went straight to the point and asked, Senior, don't tell me you really have some thoughts about me. If you don't have any thoughts about me, why are you tormenting me like this? Can't you just be nice? Ning Shu had been to at least 80 if not 100 worlds with this kind of old-fashioned trick. She had seen everything. There was no way to trick her. At least in this world, she wouldn't have anything to do with Yan Yang. As for whether the client had anything to do with Yan Yang, it was none of her business. There will always be people who covet my beauty. Yan Yang, you're so direct, I can't even accept it. Ning Shu, oh, you really have some thoughts about me? Yan Yang, it's okay. Everyone likes beautiful things. According to genetic theory, your genes are very good. After all, good looks are the most direct manifestation of good genes. Why did the ancient emperors choose beauties? That was to improve the genes of their descendants. Also, beautiful things were pleasing to the eyes. Ning Shu, you want my genes? Yan Yang, I want them. Can you give them to me? Ning Shu's whole body went numb. He felt that it was very mushy. Sorry, I can't give them to you. This was skipping a lot of procedures and directly discussing the issue of genes. If you're attracted by my beauty, then look at me from afar. I'll make you drool to death. What's wrong with people these days? They all want to borrow jeans and so on. Therefore, Yen Yang had some thoughts about her and wanted to trick her. Impossible. Oh my God, I have to leave this world quickly. This kind of messy matter should be handled by the client. She just had to deal with Guoxiang's matter properly. After talking about it, Ning Shu became much colder to Yen Yang. Even if he came to visit, Ning Shu would treat him as if he didn't exist and act as if he didn't see him. After coming a few times, Sisterly asked Ning Shu, "Is that person your fan or the man who ate with you last time?" "He's an alumnus from the same school. We had a meal together last time. As for why he came to visit, it has nothing to do with me. He probably likes you. But you can't easily fall in love and get married." Ning Shu nodded to show that she understood. She was still beautiful. If she was blind and had a cut on her face, Yen Yang probably wouldn't like the client. She originally had a pair of bright and beautiful eyes. Now that one eye was blind, the other eye was gray and there was no pupil. It was a bit scary. Even if the client was good-looking, this eye was enough to wipe out all the good points. When he saw her face, his line of sight immediately focused on her eyes. Moreover, the client's situation in the storyline had something to do with Yen Yang. But it was a bit forced to say that it was a relationship. After all, it was the client herself who went to meet Yen Yang. If she didn't want to go, no one could force her. Ning Shu felt that the client's heart was a bit different towards this senior. Otherwise, she wouldn't have gone to meet him. Thinking of this entanglement, Ning Shu decided to speed up the mission. In one night, she could continue to harass Guoxiang many times, harassing Guoxiang until he broke down. Guoxiang couldn't sleep well. He was constantly being tortured and faced the threat of death. But at the last step, this ghost let him go and didn't let him die. Guoxiang didn't understand what the ghost was thinking. "Ning Shu, seeing that you have nowhere to hide is really cute." Chapter 3394. The way he looked when he had nowhere to hide was so cute. This person was a pervert, wasn't he? He could kill him or cut him up, but what did he mean by torturing him like this? This ghost kept saying that he liked him, but from the way he acted, it didn't look like he liked him at all. If he liked him, shouldn't he be patient? Shouldn't he please him? Only in this way could he get his love. Ning Shu said, "Be good. Since you can't bear to part with me, I'll come to see you in the future." "Don't come, don't come." Guoxiang waved his hand in horror. He even stretched out his hand and waved it, as if he was driving away something invisible. In the eyes of others, he was crazy and sick. The doctors and nurses often saw Guoxiang hurting himself, strangling his own neck, running away with a face full of fear, as if something terrible was chasing behind him. In fact, there was nothing. A patient who hurt himself easily should be isolated in a separate ward. Other than a bed, there were 4 walls in the room. Some dangerous things couldn't be left in the ward, and he had to be monitored at all times. Try not to let the patient die in the hospital. Then the family would definitely come to make trouble. This kind of patient was the most worrisome. Guoxiang was really speechless. These doctors and nurses were all allies of this ghost. They were all teammates. Otherwise, why would they give him a separate room and let him be with the ghost all the time? Guoxiang applied that it was very good to stay in an ordinary ward. At least there was a sense of security with more people. It was really scary to have a room by himself. Ning Shu said with a smile, "That's good. No one will disturb us like this. We can have a world of 2. A man's voice said that he wanted to have a world of 2 with him. He was probably crazy. Was this ghost a man or a woman? If it was a woman, it was okay. If it was a man. Guoxiang was suddenly disgusted. Guoxiang was obviously not in the mood to play with Ning Shu. In Ning Shu's eyes, it was playing, but in Guoxiang's eyes, it was deadly. Formless and invisible things were the most terrifying. Guoxiang could not help but imagine the appearance of a ghost. He was even drooling over him now, sticking out his long tongue and licking his face, wanting to eat him. Just thinking about it made Guoxiang feel terrified. Ning Shu stretched out his ice-cold hand. His hand was frozen, just like a pig's knuckle taken out from the fridge. He stroked Guoxiang's neck. Guoxiang shrank his neck from the cold and cried out in horror, "Don't touch me, don't touch me, I'm scared, please let me go, I beg you. I've never done anything wrong to you. Why are you doing this to me? You don't like me at all. You're a liar." Ning Shu kept stroking his neck. "How could that be? I like you. I really do. Otherwise, why wouldn't I find someone else to look for you? Then go find someone else. Don't come looking for me. Let me go. What do you want? Offerings? Incense? Paper money? I can burn them all for you as long as you leave. Good boy, I don't need these things. I'm not an ordinary ghost. I don't need these things. Should I leave them for other ghosts?" Guoxiang's expression became even more terrified. "There are other ghosts." Ning Shu stroked his neck. "There are many godly things in this world. It's normal that there are many. You're really special. You've successfully attracted my attention. You'll also attract the attention of other ghosts. In the future, many ghosts will come looking for you. But you can only like me. You're not allowed to like anyone else. Guoxiang, get lost, all of you get lost. I don't like any of you." Ning Shu continued to harass Guoxiang for many days, making Guoxiang live in fear every day. After a long time, he was about to break down. Anyway, his mood was not right every day. He looked more and more like a lunatic. He muttered to himself, "Don't come looking for me. Don't come looking for me." Ning Shu saw that his condition would only worsen and not get better. Maybe he would get better in the future, but she did not know when he would be able to leave the hospital. Also, Ning Shu felt that it was necessary to find a stronger bodyguard. She knew martial arts, but the client did not. It was convenient and safe to spend some money to find a bodyguard. Also, Ning Shu rejected Yan Yang's mother's invitation again and again. Yan Yang's mother invited Ning Shu to have a meal together several times, but Ning Shu rejected them all. The reason was that she was busy and would wait for the next time. Anyway, she would reject the next time. To be honest, if she kept rejecting, the other party should understand what she meant. However, Yan Yang's mother did not notice Ning Shu's rejection at all. She really thought that she was free and that the next time was real. Then, she really invited her again and again. Ning Shu did not know how to reject the invitation. Yan Yang's mother was a person with a high EQ. It was impossible that she did not see her attitude. However, Ning Shu did not know what to do. She directly said, "I really don't have any relationship with your son." If it was really a relationship between a man and a woman, it would be fine if she urged her, but she did not have that kind of relationship with Yan Yang. Yan Yang's mother was a little unreasonable. Yan Yang's mother had a strange look on her face and said, "I'm not talking to you about my son. I'm your fan and just want to have a meal with you. Don't think too much. How did you get involved with Yan Yang?" Ning Shu, so she should leave this world quickly. This kind of situation was not within her social circle. Those who were familiar with Yan Yang were clients. Those who were schoolmates with Yan Yang were also clients. Yan Yang had nothing to do with her. She did not want to deal with Yan Yang. As for Yan Yang, Ning Shu said, "Don't bother me if you have nothing to do. If you have nothing to do, get lost. If you have nothing to do, get lost. Good genes. My genes are so good. What does it have to do with you? Before leaving, Ning Shu also received a wave of gossip. It was about Gu Qing. Someone exposed on the internet that Gu Qing had bribed the assistant of actress Y and poisoned actress Y in an attempt to stop actress Y's advertisement from going on. The news revealed the identity of actress Y in detail. This actress Y was almost referring to Wuxia. This wave of exposure was not done by Ning Shu. Didn't she say before that she did not want to pursue the matter? She really did not want to pursue the matter. Gu Qing did not think that this was done by her. She was a person of her words. Sister Li's gum had been hurting recently. She was very popular because of Gu Qing's matter. Because of this, Gu Qing's endorsement was also cancelled. The company would not let a tainted actress endorse their product. If the product was not sold well because of a boycott of a female star, it would be a big loss. So when the scandal was exposed, the company gave up on Gu Qing as the spokesperson immediately and looked for an actress with a better image and reputation. It's the fastest novel website. Chapter 3395. Not only would the businessmen not consider Gu Qing, but even the management company would give up on Gu Qing. Read the full story. Her image was ruined. This was no longer a problem with her image. She had already violated the law. Even an ordinary person would not be able to cross the line. Moreover, Gu Qing was a public figure. Her every move would be watched. Her influence on society would be greater. She would have to bear more responsibility. Gu Qing was finished. At least her career would be ruined. Ning Shu asked sisterly, how did this matter get out? Although there were all kinds of darkness and filth in the entertainment industry, everyone knew what an artist was like. Even if they knew, it would be fine if it was not made public. But now, it was trending because of this matter. Don't think that you are famous. You don't need this kind of fame. Sister Li covered her face and said, it's all because of that Xiao Su. I don't know why he went crazy and exposed it on the internet. It was too much. Sister Li, who was Gu Qing's manager, had to bear the consequences of what had happened to her artiste. I didn't expect Xiao Su to cause such a ruckus. I didn't see it before. Sister Li could not believe that the honest Xiao Su would do such a thing. He exposed it so impulsively. Don't forget, she was also involved. She was even involved in it. She was the executor of this matter. What happened to make Xiao Su so impulsive? He was completely destroying everything. She would be implicated too. How angry must he be to do such a thing? Sister Li was glad that nothing happened to Wuxia. If anything happened to Wuxia, the company would tear her apart. There was no need for a press conference. The company would abandon Gu Qing. Ning Shu looked at the trending topics when he had nothing to do. This matter had been going on for a long time. Every day, it would change. Xiao Su might have just wanted to take revenge on Gu Qing. But as time went by, Xiao Su's assistant's identity was dug out. The netizens all expressed that the rich circle was really messy. They also scolded Xiao Su for being greedy. He did such a thing and still had the cheek to expose it. He took someone else's salary and even drugged her. The direction of the situation changed. Most of it gathered around Xiao Su. There were all kinds of posts and it covered up some negative news about Gu Qing. This was obviously Gu Qing's counterattack. Gu Qing had been in the entertainment industry for a long time. She had a lot of connections as an assistant. Public opinion could be manipulated. It was obvious that Gu Qing was manipulating public opinion. However, no matter how public opinion was in Gu Qing's hands, there were some things that Gu Qing could not wash away. Moreover, Gu Qing's insistence on Xiao Su's character also proved that Gu Qing had indeed hired someone to drug Xiao Su. The most rational method was to let this matter slowly fade away. People would only watch the show for 2 or 3 days, and after a long time, it would fade away. If this matter continued to appear in front of the public, it would have a greater impact on society. It would be a good thing to suppress such news. However, Gu Qing was clearly panicking. She kept slandering Xiao Su, as if she wanted to push all the blame onto Xiao Su to get herself out of it. However, there were some things that only made things worse. The more one spoke, the easier it was to make mistakes. Anyway, Gu Qing had no chance. Although he didn't know why the two of them had fallen out and ended up biting each other like dogs. If the two of them got together, something would happen sooner or later. After all, they were only together because of special reasons. Moreover, Xiao Su had threatened Gu Qing to accept her as her assistant. Xiao Su looked like she listened to her teacher, but she was actually quite greedy. Gu Qing must have not satisfied her conditions, or did something that Xiao Su was unhappy with. That was why this happened. In any case, this matter did not affect her. After all, in such a story, she was the victim. This matter caused an uproar, but Ning Shu didn't say a word. This was a battle between Gu Qing and Xiao Su, and she didn't want to get involved. It was a thankless task, and she would get into trouble. Sister Li also repeatedly reminded Ning Shu not to say anything. At this time, no matter what she said, it would have different meanings. It was right not to say anything. The more one did, the more mistakes one would make. Moreover, Ning Shu did not jump out to step on Gu Qing at this time. Because she was the winner. Not stepping on her was the style of a winner. Gu Qing wanted to drag her into the water, but she had to see the consequences. Her value was greater than Gu Qing's. The company would definitely protect her. Indeed, no matter where it was, the rules of survival were the same. Make yourself stronger and more valuable. Make yourself unable to be abandoned casually. The most important thing was to be strong and free. It was not up to others to judge her value. It was probably because this matter had gone too far. It was not a glorious matter, so it had to be so ugly. Someone stepped forward. Xiao Su was detained for poisoning, and Gu Qing was also sent to the police station, but she was released not long after. She was taught a lesson and came out. It was not long, but Gu Qing's career could not continue. Gu Qing did not appear in front of Ning Shu either. No matter what the reason was, it was fine as long as she did not trouble her. Before long, the company terminated the contract with Gu Qing. They terminated the contract, but they didn't freeze her directly. The company still had to give Gu Qing a sum of money after terminating the contract. However, there were rules in the contract. If the artist did something bad, the company had the right to terminate the contract. Gu Qing's matter was very ugly. The company terminated the contract directly without paying the liquidated damages. Generally speaking, in order not to pay the liquidated damages, the management company would freeze the artist. When the contract was up, the company would naturally terminate the contract. If the artist could not stand it and wanted to find another way out, fine. The company would pay the liquidated damages and the artist would be free. However, if the artist did not have the ability to pay the liquidated damages and could not find another company, they could only wait. Actually, this was a tyrannical contract, but they had no choice but to sign it. Otherwise, they would not even be able to make a living. It was torturous. To a certain extent, the company had already done their duty by terminating the contract without dragging Gu Qing down. However, perhaps the company did not want an artist with such a bad reputation. It would implicate the company and the other artists in the company. It was not good for the company to keep an artist with a bad reputation in the company, so they simply terminated the contract. Everyone would go their separate ways and not be an eyesore. However, Gu Qing's career had reached a low point. After terminating the contract with this company, she probably would not be able to sign with other companies. After all, whether it was filming movies or dramas, all kinds of jobs were to make money. It's the fastest novel website. Chapter 3396. Gu Qing had a bad reputation now. Who would dare to use her? Who wouldn't be afraid that their investment would be wasted? No matter how regretful Gu Qing was now, it was useless. She had to bear the consequences. However, when the contract was terminated, Gu Qing found Ning Shu and asked Ning Shu to plead for her not to terminate the contract. Ning Shu was now the pillar of the company. If Ning Shu helped to plead for her, the company would consider it. However, Ning Shu ignored her. Did he think that she was the Virgin Mary? You didn't even care about what you did to me. Now, you want me to plead for you? I can't do it. Gu Qing also knew that she was in no position to ask Ning Shu for anything. She could only accept this fate helplessly and leave. So what if Gu Qing was unwilling? If she continued to be stubborn, Ning Shu wouldn't be soft-hearted. After that, the underwear advertisement fell into Ning Shu's hands. Previously, it was decided that Gu Qing would be the actress. Now, it was Ning Shu's. Ning Shu didn't really want to accept this advertisement. Sister Li also felt that this advertisement was toxic and caused Gu Qing to fail. Hence, she let other artistes take it. One less advertisement didn't affect Ning Shu much because she received another script. This script was quite good. Ning Shu also accepted it. Moreover, the role was more likable. Although it wasn't an important role, Ning Shu felt that she could give it a try. She could take it step by step. After accepting the script, Dan Qing informed her that she could leave this world. She didn't need to act anymore. She was happy to accept the script and run away. Acting was very difficult. It would be best if she didn't have to act. Ning Shu immediately said that she wanted to go back. After all, Yen Yang was a troublesome person. She didn't want to deal with him. It was too annoying. Back in the system space, Ning Shu started to absorb the soul power of the client. A part of the soul power contributed by the client was her own. She didn't need to share it with the organization. Ning Shu opened the attribute panel and checked the income. Name, Ning Shu. Age, 27. Level, Super Mission Taker Points Card, 267 plus 10 million points per card. Soul Value, 35 plus 1 HP, 32 plus 1 Wisdom, 43 plus 1 Luck, 29 plus 1 Charm, 19 plus 1 Spiritual Power, 44 plus 1 Combat Power, 31 plus 1 Aptitude, 38 plus 1 Faith, 25, 000 Merit, 0 Soul Strength, 5 plus 10 Authorization Ticket, 0 Pure Heart, None Law Comprehended, None Constructed World, Reincarnation World. Items: Calming Halo, Calming Pill, Amulet 4, Upgraded Amulet plus 2, Faith Bell. Honorary Titles, Goddess of War, Selfless Ancestor Skills, 5th Ring Shooting Technique, Level Close Combat Technique, Minor Achievement in Peerless Martial Arts, Level Poison Technique, Low-Level Business Management Knowledge, Beginner Code Programming, Beginner Lawyer Skill, Heavenly Master Ghost Catching Skill, Beginner Cooking Skill, Level Embroidery Skill, Trash Hypnosis. Aura, Mother of the World, Queen's Blessing, Sister Model Worker, Chen Shi's Blessing, Leader Aura, Grassa's Blessing, Best Friend for Life, Meow Meow Meow's Blessing, Life-Saving Hand, Zhu Su's Blessing, Founding Woman, Chen Ermiai's Blessing, Beauty in Law, Chen Ning's Blessing, Bane of the Blood Clan, Jasmine's Blessing, Transcending Race Communication, Bai Sanyang's Blessing, Brave Heart, Wang Ying's Blessing, Bloodthirsty Tyrant, Ni Bingyan's Blessing, Heart of Peace and Joy, Luck. Aura, Faith Aura, Longevity. Completed Uxin's Wish. Mission Completion Rate, 100%. Received 10 points card, 8 attribute points, and 50% of the soul strength from the soul strength user. 50% of the soul strength was not bad. Half of the soul strength. After absorbing the soul strength, Ning Shu felt that his soul strength had become a little stronger. Sure enough, doing missions was simply awesome. After absorbing the soul strength, Ning Shu directly said to the system, "Continue to do missions, don't stop." Only by doing missions could he obtain the soul strength. Egg White, let's deal with the star stones first. Otherwise, there will be a lot of them. And it's time for you to change shifts. Ning Shu. Why do I have to change shifts as soon as my mission is over? Please don't doubt the computing power of the artificial intelligence. Ning Shu. The main system hasn't asked me to deal with it yet. I'll sleep for a while. Ning Shu directly laid on the sofa and prepared to sleep. Ning Shu felt that she was suffering from the aftermath of the battle and needed to sleep. Don't disturb me. Ning Shu slept comfortably and then went to the location of the broken dimension according to the location of the spatial node. As soon as he arrived, he saw the Grand Uncle dealing with the star stones. Beside him was Lolita squatting. Lolita blinked and stared at the Grand Uncle. Her gaze was like X-ray vision that could see through the Grand Uncle. When the Grand Uncle saw Ning Shu, he directly threw the item to Ning Shu and left. Lolita pouted. Can't you be nicer to people? Even if it's borrowing seeds, it has to be natural and have some feelings. It's so cold. So boring. Hey, you're here. Lolita greeted Ning Shu with a sweet smile as if nothing had happened. Ning Shu felt a little creeped out. He took the item and began to deal with the star stones. She was probably going to talk about the lightning law imprint again. Sure enough, she spoke in the next second. You haven't fused with the law imprint yet, right? Ning Shu thought she could go get her fortune told. He should fuse with the law imprint as soon as possible so that she would give up. Why are you like the Grand Uncle? You ignore me when I talk to you. Does your organization make you like this? The little girl rolled her eyes and asked again, can I use the giant race's natural source stone to exchange with you? Ning Shu, what's a source stone? It's the birth of our race. Everyone's body has an energy body. Ning Shu, fuck, an energy body? They were born with an energy body? Do you know how heaven-defying you are? Ning Shu asked, is it the kind of energy body that I understand? It was an energy body born in the void. These things could be born together with it. What's with your expression? Why do you look like a country bumpkin? The little girl said disdainfully. With this kind of energy, it's enough for us to grow. Ning Shu, oh. Not bad. They actually had their own growth energy. This meant that this race didn't need energy. The energy they had was enough for them to grow. How could these races be so outstanding, so willful and powerful? Although Berserk had no rationality, how many people would really provoke such a race to the point of losing their rationality? When this race lost their rationality, it was the most terrifying time. They even had their own energy. Ning Shu's face was expressionless. He was helpless in the face of such a race. Translator, Atlas Studios Editor, Atlas Studios. Chapter 3397. Ning Shu was envious of the creatures in the void. On the phone, worms were like that. Now, this was the same as the scam of an advertisement poll. Paying a lot of money for children. Ning Shu asked, since it's born with energy, it must be consumed. How can there be more? Since it was the energy needed for giants to grow, of course it would be consumed. Sigh. The little girl sighed and looked at him as if he was mentally retarded. Not every child born can grow up. There are also deaths. This energy is naturally collected. If some children are born with insufficient energy, this collected energy can make up for it. Well, Ning Shu wouldn't even consider the death of children for a race like yours. If there were energy bodies, Ning Shu felt that Taishu could do crosstalk and make babies. With energy bodies, the Sea of Law could be delayed for a long time. It was a matter of killing several birds with one stone. Ning Shu asked curiously. Every race has a specific way of survival. Why do you want to borrow seeds everywhere? The little girl shook her head. You don't understand. It was really strange for such an old expression to appear on a little girl's face. Although she was a little girl and still had baby fat on her face, this little girl might have lived for hundreds or thousands of years, longer than her. Ning Shu, okay, I don't understand. Your race's matters are none of my business. Ning Shu suddenly thought of something. Do the girls of your race borrow seeds everywhere? Yes, but not everyone seeks a breakthrough. I'm part of the group that seeks a breakthrough. There's no other way. If I don't break through, I feel like my race is going to die. Ning Shu. Then do your best. Ning Shu really didn't know how to respond to this topic. He could only say, do your best. The little girl looked at Ning Shu. So, give me your lightning law. Ning Shu thought this topic was over. Next one. Ning Shu was seriously processing the star stone as if he didn't hear her at all. Probably because he had dealt with Ning Shu before, he knew what kind of character Ning Shu had. He directly took out a round bead. This bead was the size of a thumb and was very shiny. Moreover, the sound of water could be heard from inside. It was very magical. He could feel the surging power inside. Do you see that? This is a very precious item in our clan. It's more than enough to exchange for your law of lightning imprint. Ning Shu asked, which part of your body do you usually have beads like this? The girl said, it's a tricky angle. Anyway, it's on the body. Ning Shu wiped his hands and was about to take the item when the little girl pinched the bead behind her back. This won't do. If you want the bead, you have to exchange it with an energy body. Ning Shu said directly, then I don't want it. You can't be like this. Why don't you have any persistence? I realize that you people are really hard to deal with. I can't borrow your seed, and I can't even get the lightning law imprint. Why is it so hard to change your race? Ning Shu wanted to keep the law of lightning imprint for his own use, so he wasn't very interested in this bead. Moreover, she could feel that this kind of energy was not the same as the energy born in the Void Land. Ning Shu didn't know if this kind of energy could be absorbed by the World Tree and unique martial arts. Ning Shu smiled slightly and said, forget it. This belongs to your race. It's useless for me to keep it. I don't want it. The little girl's face suddenly fell. Do you want to exchange it or not? Oh, was she going to turn hostile and be heartless? Was she going to fight here? Forget it. The little girl put away the bead. Let's go and borrow the seed first. We'll do it one by one. As she spoke, she left and chased after the Taishu. Ning Shu shrugged. Borrowing the seed would probably be more difficult than getting the law of lightning imprint from her. After all, as long as he took out something that tempted her, it was possible to exchange it. However, borrowing the seed was very difficult. Good luck. If she could really succeed in borrowing the seed, Ning Shu felt that it would be a miracle. If he could live to see it once, he wouldn't have lived in vain. He reckoned that no one could control the Taishu. This kind of person was cold-hearted and looked up to a tall mountain. After the little girl left, one came over and asked Ning Shu, who is this person? I haven't seen her before. I don't know, Ning Shu said directly. I'm here to learn how to process the star stone, Wan said. Okay. Ning Shu nodded. Wan was simply a sucker. It would be unreasonable if he didn't teach her. Ning Shu was a little puzzled. Are you that short of money? That's not right. Wan had more than 10 law imprints. Previously, the law space was still there. The taxes were quite high. Wan didn't look like she was short of money. Wan shook her head. I'm not short of money. I just want to learn more. Processing the star stone looks high-end and classy. I want to. Ning Shu was speechless. She was thinking too much. High class and classy. People who couldn't process it looked high-end and classy. In fact, it was a tough job. Moreover, it was quite tough. She had to bear the pressure of radiation every day. There was no way to survive. Ning Shu nodded repeatedly. Yes, yes. It's very high-end and classy. Come, learn from me. First, you have to understand the law thoroughly. This way, processing the star stone will be easier. Ning Shu was explaining the problem of processing the star stone to Ah Wan when the Taishu came back. He waved at Ning Shu and said, "Come here. I have something to tell you." Ning Shu suddenly had a bad feeling. Generally speaking, as long as his attitude was good and he suddenly became gentle, there was usually something. Ning Shu said to Ah Wan, "You want to try processing it? I'll come over." Ning Shu walked over and asked directly, "What's the matter?" Li Guo used her energy to exchange for the Thunder Law imprint. The Taishu said. Ning Shu was speechless. "You're really well informed." "Oh no." Ning Shu quivered. She couldn't keep her Thunder Law imprint. Did the Taishu need the energy body or the Thunder Law imprint for the little girl? Ning Shu smiled slightly. "Yes, but I didn't exchange it because I need the Thunder Law imprint." A Thunder Law imprint wasn't enough for the Taishu to lower himself to ask for it. It must be for the energy body. Damn it. You can just give your body. Why do you have to give up her Thunder Law imprint? Ning Shu's mind was filled with complaints. Go and give your body, go and give your body. The Taishu said, "Give that Thunder Law imprint to Li Guo." Ning Shu was speechless. "I don't, why should she give it to him?" Moreover, Ning Shu knew that she couldn't get this energy body at all. She couldn't do this. Even if she snatched the Thunder Law imprint, it was still painful for her to get it. It's the fastest novel website. Chapter 3398. When the grand-uncle came to tell her about the Thunder Law imprint, Ning Shu knew that the grand-uncle had seen the little girl's energy body. What made Ning Shu speechless was why he had used her things to exchange for the bead. The bead had nothing to do with him. This was equivalent to using her money to buy things. If she bought something, others would take it away. She probably wouldn't even be able to touch it. Oh, right. That little girl was called Li Guo. Ning Shu said, "You don't want to sacrifice yourself and use my things. Isn't that unreasonable?" The grand-uncle's face was very cold. He probably heard the words, sacrifice. "You're unhappy, but I'm unhappy. You exchanged your energy body. The organization is exchanging with you," the grand-uncle said lightly. Ning Shu was annoyed. It was just a Thunder Law imprint. It didn't seem that precious. Why did this happen? If you don't want to sacrifice yourself, why do you ask others to? She didn't need the bead. It was understandable that the grand-uncle was unwilling. It was normal for her to be unwilling. But brother, don't do to others what you don't want done to you. Well, maybe the grand-uncle didn't have such awareness. He didn't want to force others to do what he didn't want. Ning Shu said, "I don't want anything else. If you have the time, you might as well find another Thunder Law imprint." The grand-uncle said, "There's only one law imprint. When one imprint collapses, a new one will be born. Why are you still so ignorant?" Ning Shu was expressionless. "I'm asking you to go to another pond to find a law imprint." Compared to the huge void, wasn't the sea of law just a pond? There were always people thinking about her good things. It seemed that it was time to fuse with the Thunder Law imprint. Although it might be painful and she would be electrocuted, these people wouldn't think about it. Do you have to get the Thunder Law imprint? Can't you get other laws? She remembered that more than one law incarnation had died on the battlefield. The others are too weak. She won't like them, the grand uncle said directly. Ning Shu chuckled. His standards were quite high. As expected of a giant, he liked this kind of violent law. The thunder law should be the most aggressive law. The grand uncle had personally told her to give the thunder law imprint to Li Guo. She was probably annoyed by Li Guo. Ning Shu said, even if I give her the lightning law imprint, she still wants to borrow your seed. Grand Elder. That's my business. Giving the lightning law imprint energy bodies is a win-win situation. You guys earn, I pay. Ning Shu waved his hand and said, I don't want to trade. This is mine. I don't want to trade. The organization will give you what you want. Ning Shu said, oh, what is it? Tell me, maybe I'll agree. Ning Shu's body was sluggish, and his legs almost shook. Can't you talk properly? The Grand Elder frowned. Obviously, his patience had reached its limit. Ning Shu responded with an, oh, and revealed his white thighs that were shaking non-stop. I'm nervous. I can't control myself, Ning Shu said expressionlessly. The Grand Elder, if the world wants to evolve creatures and form a real world, it needs something. The organization has this thing. I'll give it to you in exchange. Also, do you know why your world of reincarnation has provided reincarnation for so many creatures, but you can't get any merit? Ning Shu, it's an interrogation from the soul. I really don't know. If you trade, the organization will tell you the method. If you provide creatures with reproduction and reincarnation, you should get merit. Oh no, it was the feeling of being tempted. Ning Shu was really tempted. The souls of the 8 worlds in the 9 Palace Mountain had all entered the world of reincarnation. According to this calculation, she would get a lot of merit. Also, the world tree needed to evolve creatures and the organization's information. Exchange with Li Guo. 10 energy bodies, said the Grand Elder. Ning Shu. Why don't you say 100? The Grand Elder, 100 is too much. If she goes berserk, 50. It's not bad to get 20 or 30. Ning Shu rolled his eyes and said, why don't you trade with her? You're asking for too much. A kind person like me can't do such a thing. Are you sure the organization will tell me the method and give me the method to evolve creatures? The Grand Elder nodded. Giving up a lightning law imprint could give her many worlds of creatures and a lot of merit. This was also the question that Ning Shu had buried in his heart. Why didn't she get any merit for providing reincarnation for those souls? Was it worth exchanging the lightning law imprint for future wealth? Ning Shu was very conflicted. He was tempted and conflicted. Oh no. The lightning law's attack power was definitely very strong, but it was related to the future. Attack power? She still had the god-beating whip. Its attack power was not weak. Ning Shu, okay, trade. I'll give you the law imprint. You can trade with Li Guo. No need. You can trade with her. Ning Shu was a little puzzled. Why didn't the Grand Elder appear? Ning Shu, I think if I go by myself, she will go berserk if I ask for too much. It was quite scary when she went berserk. He felt that Li Guo's race wanted to have great power and be rational at the same time. Nothing was perfect. But Ning Shu felt that it was impossible to change. Ning Shu said, 100. 50 is too much. I don't think she can take it out. The Grand Elder, she can. There are many children of the race who die young, and there are many energy bodies. Do it well. The Grand Elder disappeared in a flash. Ning Shu rolled his eyes so much that his pupils couldn't be seen. He went back to deal with the star stones. Ah Wan was sweating profusely while dealing with the star stones. It was so hard that even her soul dimmed a little. She couldn't help but say, this is too hard. Even doing missions wasn't so hard. Dealing with the star stones was simply unbearable. It wasn't easy at all. He didn't want to do it a second time. Ning Shu was afraid that Ah Wan would get tired of dealing with the star stones, so he said, "It'll be fine after a long time. It's hard to deal with it at the beginning. It'll be fine after a long time. Look at me. I was like this before, but I'm doing well now." Ah Wan just said, "We'll talk about it later. It's so tiring. It's boring." Ning Shu asked, "Do you get merit for building a world of living beings?" "Ah Wan, do I still get merit? I didn't know there was such a thing." "Ning Shu," that was the Grand Elder coaxing her. "There was no such thing at all." Ning Shu asked, "May I ask, how many worlds do you have?" "Ah Wan, not many. Only 5 or 6. 5 or 6 wasn't many. It was already quite a lot." Translator, Henny Translations Editor, Henny Translations. You're tuning in to the Han Lee's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.